right, being 6:30, we'll call this meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call vote of the board. Susan Clarkin.
Here.
Michelle Feeney.
Here.
Dennis Kelly here. Odette Kent.
Here.
Jamie McGaldy.
Here.
Paul Millerani.
Here.
Tricia Romano.
Here.
Hugh Vandermark.
Here.
And Suzanne Sullivan said she'd be running a little late, but she'd be here. So I'll leave her. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from April 9th. I sent those out for real this time. So I'll take a motion if everyone's good with the minutes that were sent out.
So moved.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, you have any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. All right, so that's the April 9th. We'll get the April 23rd for the next meeting. Next on the agenda is a discussion with the town manager on the progress and to date and any feedback. So I just wanted to start off by saying I've kept Eric in the loop on things, but I just want to run through some of the things we've done. As a committee, we did a building walkthrough. We've gotten repair cost budgetary numbers from an engineering firm. We've shared utility costs, parking needs for town hall, school department, voting needs, and any other instances for the building's day-to-day operation. We're doing a forum tonight after one of the next agenda items. We're going to do a survey, we'll be online, and we'll bring some printed ones down to the Senior Center for people that may not go online. We reviewed the facility master plan to see what the recommendations were a few years back when they did that. We also started to create a scorecard to try to find a way to score the buildings as we do it, to come up with the best way to evaluate one. So we've learned a lot on the first few meetings, and we've come a long way, and that's why we're at. So we're hoping to get some feedback from you on the direction and your input.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I first of all, I want to say I really appreciate this committee for all the work that you have done. I know that I have been here in the building several times, and you've had packed houses who were interested in the goings-on of this committee. So I know that you certainly got the word out about what was on the table. I think from my perspective, I think it might be helpful just to take a step back and talk a little bit about what I think the end product of this kind of should look like. Yep. And then to kind of reiterate what the select board had in mind when they did set up this committee. To be real clear, you guys are the eyes and ears of the select board for this purpose. They have the ultimate control and decision over, what happens to this building and other ones that will come in your purview. But they thought it pertinent to have a subcommittee that would do the data collection, do the public outreach, get the comments from the public, and then synthesize that to bring it back to the select board to help them make their ultimate decision on this property. And so we had the charge that was drawn up from the select board. We talked about it the first day. I brought it again just to kind of remind everybody why we're here and kind of where this process should lead. So the idea was to conduct an assessment of the buildings. I know that you guys did and went and took a physical assessment of that property, so that's great. To investigate the needs of the town departments to determine whether or not internal reuse was merited of that building. I know that there have been a couple of town departments that reached out, so that sounds like you're collecting that information. Importantly, and again, this is one of the main reasons I think the select board wanted this, was to engage the community stakeholders and get public input through open public forums, like tonight, but also like all your meetings, which I think have been designed to have the public able to speak about the right now, the Buzzell, but as we go forward, these other buildings. And so that information that you get from these public meetings can be synthesized and brought eventually to the selectmen so they know what the public is thinking about this building. Make preliminary determinations as to costs for either reuse or demolition. So that's kind of the one of the things, I know that you've been working through those costs. I know that there were some costs for reuse. I don't know whether or not you guys got any estimates about demolition of the building, but, that's one of the things that the select board, I think, would want. You're talking about reviewing the use of the buildings and the land for municipal purposes. That's a little bit different than the earlier charge because it talks about the underlying land. So, for instance, the use of the parking spaces as needed for town elections and the new town hall would be a use of the land that's separate from the structure. So I think that's an important piece of information for you guys to collect. And eventually, to evaluate all those pieces of information and prepare a report to the select board. So that report doesn't necessarily need to come with some sort of unanimous decision of this board about what to do, but rather, what are these pieces of information that we've collected? The public, thinks these are some of the things that we've heard from the public. This is what we've heard is the cost that we've gotten this cost of the building. If it's these are the town departments that have expressed an interest in the building if the town did decide to reuse it. These are some of the municipal uses for the land. So I'm just thinking about the Wildwood School, and I know one of the things that was sent to this committee already was the cemetery department was interested in the use of that land. So that would be an important thing for the select board to know as they're going forward, that the cemetery department would have a use for that Wildwood School if and when that comes before this body. And then I think in some cases, some of these decisions might be easy. If you've got a $100,000 worth of building that's going to take $1 million to bring up to code and nobody wants it and it's kind of an orphan building, then, taking a vote to recommend, hey, we think it's a good idea based on what the public input and what we've got, that the select board demolish that building. But if that's not something that the committee can come to a resolution on, and I understand some of these buildings are going to be tricky, then just preparing a report that demonstrates those differing things that have come before the committee, I think would be helpful. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we've got 3 members of the select board here, and I want to congratulate our new chair, Frank West, who's here, along with Gary DePalma and Jake Girwar. But they're the ultimate, and their peers are going to be the ultimate decider of what happens. This is in the interest of the economy of the select board that we're having the data collection be done by a subcommittee as opposed to having them in their roles with everything else they have to do to also be collecting this data. So I think it feels like for the Buzzell, the data that you've collected really, does kind of fill out the sheet for the information that the select board was looking for. The question just comes whether or not, is the committee prepared or is of a mind to make a recommendation, or is this one where it's not real clear whether it should be demolished or reused, and you should just kind of collate the information that was collected and send that as a report to the select board. Ultimately, just for folks who are wondering about the process, the select board determines kind of demolition and reuse of the structure. If for some reason there's a property that's going to be surplus, that would be my role. I would have to surplus it before it went out to the public. But for purposes of this committee, I think you're doing a great job, and the role is to get that data, that there's a lot of raw data about these buildings, in a form so that the select board has that information and can make an educated decision on their own about how they want to move forward with those buildings.
Now, one of the things you said about deemed surplus, in this case, it's a building. We know we need the land for the building in general. So if the building stayed or went, that parking lot's still needed for the building's day-to-day functions.
Yeah, so in a situation like this, if there's a clear municipal use for the underlying land or for even for the structure, if there's a the chances of it being surplus would be slim, because we would the first priority of the town would be to reuse our lands and buildings for municipal purposes. That's, if there's a municipal purpose that we need a land or a building for, that would be our kind of our primary goal. But to be really clear, all that stuff comes after you guys make a report to the select board and they decide whether or not they want to take the steps to set up that building for reuse or take the steps to set up that building for a demolition.
Great. Any questions for the town manager?
I hope that was helpful. I know you guys have done a lot of work, so I hope that was.
Any questions for the town manager? Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Town Manager, one of our charges is to investigate the needs of the town departments and the town. You, as town manager, can you identify any need that the town would have for the building, for the land, to help us formulate a decision on just that point?
So specifically to this property, I know that there have been multiple departments or subsets of the municipality that have said that they would reuse that building if it was available. I know that those departments are not the departments that would need to pay to renovate those buildings, that it's not within their budget to renovate those buildings. So in my mind, I know that if that building was rehabbed and was in shape, I know the Recreation Department has expressed an interest in it. I know the Arts Council has expressed an interest in it if it was rehabbed and turned back into a building that we thought could have public use. So other than those, I'm not familiar with any other department that I'm aware of. I don't know if
The other
any
one was
others.
library, like a bigger bookstore and be able to run larger events, but that was the only other person that has approached me.
Yeah, and I think that those getting that information would be important for the select board to have. That are these departments that if you decide that I don't know, it's 1.1 or 1.2 million dollars, whatever the cost is for the Buzzell. If the select board believes that that's a good investment that the town should make to reuse it, that we have departments that would say they would use that structure if it was up to code and available for use.
And just one follow-up question. Can you speak to the fact that we can't just open that building up? It has to be rehabbed. It has to meet certain codes, et cetera. And we'll take care of the cost end of that, but
Sure.
the whole principle behind that whole.
Yeah. So one of the tricky parts with a building like this is it's not up to multiple different codes. So you have the ADA, you have modern building, electrical, plumbing codes that the building did not meet. While we were using it as a consistent use, we had some protection from being required to do all that code upgrading. We also probably should have been doing some ADA work on the building, but that's a kind of a question that I've had discussions with the Commission on Disability about, that we're going to be moving forward as a town on looking at all of our buildings that way. But once you take a building that's like that and you change its use, then you're subject to meeting the vast majority of those codes. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I know I've discussed it with Dennis, but the problem is a lot of the triggering mechanisms for those codes depend on the cost of construction related to the cost of the value of the structure, and so there's a threshold at which if you're doing if your ADA work, which needs to be done to bring this up, triggers a particular monetary threshold, then you have to bring the entire building up to code, and it has to be done, as before it's occupied again. And that's one of the things it's a little bit of a domino that could trigger a full rehab being required before another department could use it.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the board have questions for the town manager? I'm not going to make them stay the whole time. I wanted them to have an opportunity to come see us and talk about where we were and see where we're at. And it was the night of the forum. I thought it was important to have that go on. So if no one else has any questions, I'm going to set them free for the night, and you can go spend time with his family. I mean, I could open it up if
Yeah, I don't mind if there's,
If anyone has a direct question on this Buzzell School, on the charge for the committee, would be willing to hear that.
Good evening, Kevin McDonald. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. On this board, do we have any structural engineers or architects on this board that I could ask a question relative to that discipline?
We do not.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's safe to be in this building tonight. There's no problem with that, right?
This building here?
Yeah.
We're fine.
Okay. I actually went to school, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade here when it was a school. Since, I'll talk about that a little later, but since we're talking about the Buzzell School, or the old senior center, seniors typically are handicapped in some instances, and I've seen seniors go into that place with wheelchairs, walkers, different things like that. It was a school. It's a town building, and to put fear into people's minds that we have to put $1 million into that building for a reuse, in some instances, yeah, it's true, but I think I have an idea that would avoid that cost. And Wilmington Community Television does a terrific job. However, with streaming and other things, it's making it very difficult for them to operate. I believe they're paying $80,000 a year right now to rent the facility that they're at. And since the Buzzell was previously a school, I think it would be in the best interest of the town to take a serious look at using that facility as an educational outreach for the kids at the high school, allow Wilmington Community Television to go into that facility and do their programming, but at the same time, implement an auxiliary education facility to train kids who want to be trained in video editing and all the other aspects of television work, and give them credits for that. Reduce Wilmington Community Television's financial impact on the rent, and keep them a viable organization. So that's one thing that I wanted to say. If it's okay with the board, if it pleases the board, I'd like to give you my opinions on a couple other buildings, unless there's any objection.
We're only focused on this building tonight.
On this building?
No, the Buzzell School, that's the one.
Okay, 'cause,
This committee's focused on the Buzzell School at this point, and as we get off this building and make our recommendation, we'll move on to the next building that's available. After that, we'll move on to the next building.
Is that tonight or a different night?
Different nights.
Okay, because you guys were just talking about this building. And then you were talking about the Wildwood being
we never talked
affiliated
about
with the cemetery.
We never talked
The
about
manager just mentioned that.
Okay.
So you,
These-
I'll respect your wishes if you just want to
All
talk.
tonight is a public forum to talk about the Buzzell, and you're more than welcome to come back to every meeting and as we get to the different buildings. I absolutely want your input.
Okay.
And every resident's input.
Okay, that's
tonight,
that's
we
what
have
all the
Buzzell.
input that I have on the Buzzell, and thank you for your time.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anthony Saragosa, 25 Marcia Road. I'm looking at the assessor's records of the property. It's all on one big property, which includes the 4th of July building, the new town hall. And on this property record card, it gives the two structures, it gives a little bit about it. And on the 4th of July building, for instance, most people have been inside it, know it. It's an older building. Most people call it average. It's basically average, I'd say. And I look on the assessor's records, it says grade average, okay? I come to the main building, and I'm looking at the grade, and the assessor is calling it excellent. And I'm just curious how is that wrong?
I guess I can't speak to the assessor or their consultants they send out on how they grade that. And that's obviously an opinion of the person that went. There's a lot of people, including an engineer that walked it, our group that's walked it. So I don't know when that was done and they said that. They don't go back and do that every year. I don't know how often they go back and re-update and do a walkthrough of like those buildings. So when the last time they walked it, I don't know if that excellent came from last year or 10 years ago. But
Well-
all we can do now, to this day, is we walk through as a committee, walk the whole building, and made an evaluation of our own. The feasibility, not feasibility study,
Master plan.
facility master plan, those engineers went through and they deemed it, and their scores were low in their report. And then we had a engineering firm, architect firm that does work for us, when we do roofs and things. They went through and did a courtesy walkthrough and gave budgetary numbers of what it would take to get there. So when you look at the assessors, I don't know when that is. I don't know what the person's abilities were when they evaluate or how they felt the word excellent or anything. All I can do is go by the facility master plan, our eyes and our walkthrough, and what the consultant did when they walked through on his own.
Okay. I'm a commercial real estate appraiser, and I actually have extensive experience in lodges, clubs, religious facilities. I've done a lot. I've seen them converted. In my opinion, the town has a fiduciary responsibility to keep it in a way that someone can use it where, you know, I hear all this talk about major renovation, but renovation into what? Yeah, you can go in and spend $5 million. Depends, what are you turning it into? Is when people give out numbers about it's going to cost this to do that. Yeah, but turning it into what? It was a senior center. I got to believe a senior center had, you know, was, you know, was able to take basically older people, and it's not like it was something that is totally going to be changed. So I don't understand when people throw out numbers about, there's no detail as to what, to do what with it, to fix it up, to paint it. Is it structurally? Is it falling down? Is it, you know, what, a little bit of detail I think would be helpful.
Again, the master facility plan is available online, and you can see the reports from them. Our walkthrough, we have people with all different talents that walked through the building and made assessments. What we're looking at, and when the engineer walked through recently, and when the facility master plan engineers walked through, it was how to bring it back to today's codes. So no matter what we use it for, we have to do ADA compliance. Once ADA compliance is done, that means the floors, the thresholds, the entries, the step downs, all those things. The bathrooms are not ADA compliant. When the seniors moved out of the plaza, when they had the drop-in center, there was just a storefront. That was back in the 80s. This place was, you know, fit all their needs. Codes have changed, things have changed through those years. Now, after 30 years or 40 years, whatever that is, probably 50 years, we just built a new senior center because it did not fit any of their needs. It did not fit the needs of anyone in a wheelchair. Did they make do? They did. But once we start doing anything and bring it up, and we hit 30% of the value, we have 3 years to get it up to code completely. That's sprinkler systems, that's the ADA compliance, and many, many more things. And so, based on what the building is today, that's what the price tag came off of on that. Could you say we'll do things different? Anything's a possibility. Our charge is to deem what condition the building's in, and then make recommendations based off the input we get from people and our committee's opinions, and supply it to the select board to make the final decision of what to do. There's a value of things. I believe the demolition expense was $80,000. The value of the building's $540,000. The courtesy walkthrough was $1.2 million. Can that come down a little? We look at different things that we may not have to do right away, possibly. But those are the statistics we will share with the select board to make the final decision. You know, the needs of the parking lot, the needs of the building, the needs of all that has to be walked through with this committee, voted on with this committee, and then shared with the select board.
And just one other thing, in my experience in doing these types of properties, one thing that's always considered, I just did one in Hyde Park where parking was very limited, and an owner of a business rented a large area, much bigger than this, to a church. And when I asked a question as part of my job about how that works, parking problem, he says, this works for me because the parking is at a different time than I need it. I need parking, I need my lot for, presumably during the day. This tenant needs it, for instance, Sunday mornings or maybe a couple evenings. And I think that this board should consider that whoever goes in the building, the parking should not conflict. The perfect example is tonight. We got ball games going on. We have this going on. The parking is the same time. It's conflicting. Look where everyone had to park. Whereas, if the meeting was in the morning, but it's inconvenient, the parking wouldn't be an issue. So I hope the board considers not just the amount of parking, but the times of parking that doesn't conflict with town hall. Town hall is busy, certain times, and a possible tenant or user of that building should have the parking at a different time, and I think that would
One
solve.
quick thing, not to cut you off, you said tenant. And the charge of this building, the town manager said, is we're not looking to lease the land. It's whether this building's salvageable and has a purpose for municipal use. So if someone wants to then rent the space, if the town kept it and we kept it for something that could be rented, that'd be what it's for. But it's not for this committee to decide if we lease the land or lease the building. And
I get it. I said tenant because that's in my field. That's
Yeah,
how I
no,
use
that's
it, so
fine.
that's how I think. Good.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay, thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Can I just interject for
Miss-
a minute? I don't know how many of you know the historical significance of this building. It was built in 1935. The land that it's built on was donated by Dr. Buzzell, who lived here in town for many, many years. It is not in and of itself, the building is not on the historical registry. However, it is within the historical district for the center of town in Wilmington. So I don't know if there's anyone in this room who went to school there, but when it was a junior high, it was the first junior high in town. And I just wanted to give you that information so you have a little more to think about.
Yeah, that's a great point. We have, that's, again, another value of this team. Odette's brought a lot of historic knowledge to it and shared with the board and shared with the public. So that's a great input that she's had for this to help share with the community. Yes.
Jennifer Benelli, 17 Jacob Street. So forgive my ignorance here, but I tried to find information about like your past meetings and what's already been discussed so I could get up to speed. I wasn't able to find any of the recordings of the meeting. I saw that the minutes are dated. I heard you just approved April 2 meetings ago. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in what's happening to these buildings and this land in town. So I know WCTV is really strapped overall, but I was just wondering if we could be a little bit more creative about how we share information more in real time about what you've already looked at, how we can stay informed and really engage in the conversation versus being a separate, right, and reactive conversation. People like to spout off whatever on social media without having any knowledge. And to my know, I researched and I couldn't find any real knowledge. So I guess my request is if we can think more publicly about that education. And I know you're a small committee and I appreciate it, but there's a lot of you. Obviously, you all are engaged in this. We are all engaged in it. And I think that there's a lot broader audience who wasn't able to get here live, or, at a certain time when there's, obviously people are engaged elsewhere in town. They're parking here. So that was one. Two, and there's no presentation of what you've learned so far tonight before the, okay, great. So then my second point is, it's just hearsay, but my understanding is like the baseline investment into this building would be $1.2 million. Did I hear that? Number?
So
Is that,
far,
did I just make that up?
That was a courtesy walkthrough of someone
Okay.
that prices all our jobs when we do roofs and different
Yep.
rehabs in town.
Okay. So, I do want to encourage us all and my fellow residents to not think about $1.2 million as my personal financial world. But my understanding is that the town's annual income is somewhere in the $130 million plus range, making this 1%, $1 million, like 1%, right? That's like if I make $50,000 a year, spending $500 on something. that might have historical significance, that could have uses somewhere else. So I do just want to encourage my fellow residents and this committee to just think about, you know, that big picture about that money, right? Not just frame it in our own personal lives. And then my third thing, my final one, I promise, is in terms of, you know, the evaluation criteria, thinking about opportunity cost, right? I heard, what is the investment you need? You know, what is it worth today? But I think the other flip side is what is the opportunity cost? What would it cost to have a building for WCTV? What would it cost to build a youth center, right? What would it cost to for some of these other uses, right? Our new senior center is $15 million, right? Or more, I don't even remember exactly. 17. And guess what? In 3 years, it'll be even more than that because of inflation and rising construction costs. So now, all of a sudden, spending $500 on my $50,000 salary feels like not that much when you think about, you know, replacing what the massive cost is of a new building. Of course, I know it's more complex than that, but I didn't hear the opportunity cost really discussed as a criteria, so just wanted to emphasize that. And I appreciate the idea of a survey of the community. I would urge you to get some of those fun facts about the project and what you learned out to accompany the survey, so that the feedback that you get is educated feedback, not just people's personal whims. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And one thing is, as the committee's been formed, we've adapted each meeting. The meeting minutes have been posted, but as we've adapted, the first few meetings, people said it was hard to hear, and we weren't expecting 50 people right away. And so we've added microphones. And then, you know, so we have adapted. We will look at your recommendations on sharing some more of it publicly. And we want to be as transparent as possible and have as much input as we can.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think that the thing that's going to be most valuable for this committee tonight is to hear the public's view of what the building should be used for. We ultimately are not going to make a decision about this building. We're going to present the data that we collect to the select board. That's when you can go and, you know, say your piece about saving the building, not saving the building, et cetera. But if you want to take the microphone tonight and tell us what your vision for the building is, that would be great. That would help us greatly. We're going to call all that data together and put it in our report to the selectmen. And
one quick thing before I go to the next speaker. Is there anyone that has a direct question for Eric? I mean, I don't know if you need to be here for the whole forum, but if someone has a direct question for him around what he may have, otherwise, you know, it's up to you if you want to stay or not.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, yes, sir.
Paul Schaller, 448 Hopkins Street. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you could speak to, if you have the information available now, what capital improvements have been made to the Buzzell over the past 10 years and what the cost of those capital improvements have been? If, you know, top of the head.
I won't have the actual numbers off the top of my head, but back in COVID, we had installed the new kitchen. We bought it from Masco, which is the prisons. They have different prisons that do different things. They make cabinets, and we put the cabinets in. We've we've redone the floors. I've sanded them down and done that. We've done painting. We've added some split ACs throughout the building. Some doors. We replaced some doors inside. And that's just since I've been here. Before that, it was just general maintenance. The boiler system and the piping and all that's an old steam system that's original to, the pipes are original to the building. The boiler's 1985-ish off the top of my head. And we're fortunate to have people on staff that can repair that, and we've kept it going through the years.
But you don't have an approximation, let's say the past 5 years, let's say since COVID? Like,
I'll try to look and see.
Yeah.
I know, like I said, split ACs, because we have HVAC
Sure.
people on staff. I'd say we're about $6,000 a piece. I know we did 4 of those, and off the top of my head, the cabinets were the cost that we paid for, and our carpenters installed them.
Sure.
So I want to say it was like $6,800, but I can try to look that up. It was before me, as far as running it, but you know, other than that, it was just general maintenance, paint, and things like that.
The second thing is the permitted uses relative to the zoning. correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the entire area is zoned R20. So that would basically restrict its uses to a very confined set of uses under the zoning bylaws. So is the committee focusing on that type of permitted use?
No, it's a great question. And as far as we'll look into the zoning.
Sure.
Really it is, the buildings exist today, what should we do with it? Is it worth spending $80,000 removing
Sure.
it, turning it into a parking lot, having the extra parking? Or is it worth putting money into it to salvage it and then find other uses for town municipal purposes and residents to be able to rent it?
So just so my understanding is clear, that is the path that the committee is on right now, to repurpose it for municipal use.
Our charge was whether it has a municipal use or should be demolished.
So municipal use or demolition?
Yep.
Okay. And lastly, Mr. Chair, if you could maybe just poll the committee tonight to see if yourself or any of the other committee members have actually gone over to the Howe High School in Billerica. The Howe High School was built in the 1850s, and it sat languishing on Route 3A across from the current town hall in Billerica. And it sat languishing for years and years and years and years, and it looked like it was going to fall down. And Billerica, through whatever means they did, took it upon themselves to rehabilitate the building, and it is an absolute gem right now. You probably couldn't find a nicer building in the town of Billerica than the Howe High School. And I do know one of the occupants is BATV, Billerica Access Television. Yep. So piggybacking on what some of the other residents have said and what's been mentioned about WCTV, I think that would be a good direction to go in. But if you could, I want to direct it through you, Mr. Chair, if anybody else on the committee has seen or been to the Howe High School.
I know I have not. I don't know if you want to. No. I made a note, and I'll reach out to the facility manager.
Back 2020, 2023, when I was a member of the Historical Commission, we formed knowing that this was going to be taking place with these buildings, not just the Buzzell, but the other buildings as things shuffled around, as new buildings were constructed and subsequently occupied, that we set out as the Historical Commission to research what other cities and towns are doing with their repurposed buildings, and that was one of them that I reached out to. Now, I ended up leaving the commission for personal reasons, so I didn't really follow through, but I had gone to Linfield. I know Linfield had a couple of buildings that they've repurposed for municipal use. Billerica had with this one. It was just, if you haven't seen it, and the audience too, just go over and take a drive around the building. I mean, this building was built in, I think, 1852, and it looks like it was built yesterday. So there's potential, and just on top of that, as far as Howe High School goes, what they put into it, what Billerica put out for capital improvements, if you could obtain that, so we have kind of a basis of what's going on with money being put into the Buzzell School and to make it viable. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your input. That's great. Yes.
No, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to follow up on something that Mr. Schaller said, which is I checked while he was speaking, and that is indeed zoned R20.
Okay. Thank you.
And I just want to add, too, that's an excellent idea. Thank you for that. I will make it a point to go see that. The other thing that was discussed at the last meeting was the possibility of having Shawshene Tech or vocational students involved in any sort of repurposing. It was just part of the discussion, so I think it would be interesting to see and learn what Billerica did at school to see if, maybe they did that. Maybe they used, I don't know. But thank you. That was a great idea.
I'll keep it quick.
No problem.
I also agree with the last statement that the Shawshene Tech carpentry and plumbing departments, it would be a perfect project to bring those bathrooms into compliance. And I think it would be something that would save the town a tremendous amount of money. And I think it would be a good project for them. I think that they'd probably enjoy serving their community and making that building reusable. Just a real quick story. Years ago, when I did drilling and blasting, Bill Cummings from the Cummings Real Estate Company in Woburn invited me to go down to Beverly to look at a building, and he had a huge smokestack, and he wanted me to dynamite it and demolish it. And when I looked at that building that he had down there, it was an old shoe factory, and I actually could not believe that he wasn't demolishing that. It actually looked like something from maybe Auschwitz or Dachau, or it was just unbelievable. But if you've never been down to the Cummings Center in Beverly, you might want to do yourself a favor and go down there and see what an unbelievable job that guy did down there. Just tremendous. So that's what all I have to say. Thank you.
No, thank you for your input. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good evening, everybody. Mr. Town Manager. My name is John Romano, 247 Burlington Ave. I'm also the president of the Wilmington Sons of Italy. And so I just want to give a little spiel about the Wilmington Sons of Italy and our interest in the building. So the Wilmington Sons and Daughters of Italy Lodge was founded in 1967. We've been serving the town for almost 60 years and are proud members of this community. The Sons and Daughters of Italy have been extremely generous to the town and our fellow neighbors over those years. I want to take a couple of minutes to highlight a few major donations we have made to the town over that time. We have funded the electronic scoreboards for the Wilmington High School football field, baseball field, lacrosse field at the Woburn Street School. We purchased a DARE police car. We purchased a handicap accessible van for the senior center. We purchased 2 thermal imaging devices for the Wilmington Fire Department. We bought a pickup truck for the chief of the Wilmington Fire Department. We purchased batting cages for the Wilmington High School baseball and softball teams. We bought stadium jackets and parade helmets for the Wilmington High School band. We donated $50,000 for a playground at the North Intermediate School and $50,000 for a playground at the Woburn Street School. We've purchased an AED for the Wilmington High School and also donated money to WOW for the purchase of AEDs. We've been a sponsor of the Aquarium Pass for over 20 years at the Wilmington Memorial Library. We made a donation to Special Olympics for the Wilmington Unified School Day Games. We've bought football, baseball, softball, hockey, track team, lacrosse, volleyball, golf shirt uniforms for all of the high school teams. We bought 5 blocking pads for the Wilmington High School football team. We've been a proud sponsor of the ice sculptures at the tree lighting ceremonies in Wilmington and Tewksbury with the Chamber of Commerce. We donated $5,000 to repair the gazebo on the town common. We provided meals to the first responders in town during COVID. We sponsored the annual Wilmington Sons of Italy Wrestling Tournament for over 39 years. We give $500 each year to the Wilmington Recreation Department to purchase candy for the Horribles Parade for over 20 years running. We're a yearly sponsor of the Wilmington Little League. We purchased the Welcome to Wilmington sign on the town common. We sponsored the school packs ice cream social for many years. We donate over $1,000 a year to iPods for veterans. We donate $500 quarterly for over 20 years to the Wilmington Food Bank. We're a sponsor of one of the first sponsors of WCTV Powered By for their docuseries Under the Lights in 2023. And we most recently, just under 10 years ago, donated $100,000 to pay for the pavilion at the Gentilly Park. On top of that list, we provided donations on a yearly basis to virtually every sports support group in town, totaling thousands of dollars each year. We also provide donations to all the churches in town at Thanksgiving and Christmas to help those in need. For the last several years, we have held a diaper drive in which we've collected and donated over 1 million diapers to those in need, and along with a similar number of wipes. They go together, of course. We also have donated tens of thousands of dollars to many Sons of Italy charities like Alzheimer's Association, Cooley's Anemia Foundation, Doug Flutie Jr. Foundation for Autism, as well as many charities that our members are involved in helping. As you know, I have attended each of your committee meetings to date, and I am very aware of the process going forward. I wanted to again let this committee know that we are appreciative of all the time and hard work that you have all put in to date and will continue to put into this effort. I am here tonight with over 30 members of our lodge behind me to express our interest in the Buzzell School as a place for our home, our future in this great town of Wilmington. We ask that your recommendation to the town manager and the Board of Selectmen be not to tear down this important building in our town, but to keep it up. We ask further that the town manager declare this building to be surplus and to put out an RFP for community groups in town who want the building to respond to. Under this scenario, the town will not incur any of the large costs you have been brought forward at your meetings. And I can only speak for my organization, should we be chosen, we would make the building available to other groups as scheduling permits. This would give other organizations, groups, sport teams, or similar an opportunity to use the building as well. It'll preserve an important building in our town, and it can potentially give a permanent home to a long-time, extremely charitable organization. As I stated previously, the Wilmington Sons and Daughter of Italy want this to be our home. We are not just looking for a space to rent or to use on occasion. We already do that and can continue to do that in places like the new Senior Center, the library, or the 4th of July building. We are very good neighbors because we live here. We're not going anywhere. We have a great relationship throughout the town. Having the Buzzell School as our home will allow us to do more for the town and for all of our neighbors. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to participating in the rest of the process.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything you do.
Hi, good evening. I'm Christine Rodriguez, 19 West Street. I would like to suggest the town use one of the empty facilities. I know we're discussing Buzzell, the Buzzell School this evening, but this could apply to any of our facilities for a youth recreational center. We've lived in Wilmington for going on 9 years. We have kids that are now 8 and 10. Me and my husband are both very involved in the community, and we see the need for a space for the youth of this town. A space for them to hang out, a space that is dedicated for them that is not a school, the library, or one of the empty parking lots in town. We have firsthand experience with 7 p.m. Friday practices for a 4th grader because that was the only time that was available. We know the difficulty in getting gym space for makeup games or any additional games. Our town uses its current facilities for recreation events on the weekends, and this would provide a potential additional space for the department that already greatly serves the children of our town. I envision a future place where there is a mini library, a lounge, couches for them to hang out, game systems, TVs, a kitchen, some sort of combination of this. Maybe they can go and hear speakers, take classes, have movie nights. It's a safe space in the town for the youth where they can gather together. A place that will be their home away from home to hang out with friends, to play, to be kids, and to be safe. We have these empty buildings, and we have a growing young population to support. Let's show the young people of this town we're investing in them and using some of this space for them. They are the future, and they deserve a space, too.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi there. Candace Jenkins, 8 Drury Lane. I'm sure some of you are familiar with my face from the town admin building meetings. But I haven't been able to join the last couple, so I apologize if I have a couple questions just to get me up to speed before I, voice my recommendation. So when we say municipal use or demolish, municipal use would mean the reuse of the building with bringing it up to code for any of the municipal. Okay. Would that also be inclusive of, well, I guess my second question, if for demolishing it, would that mean that then the town could choose to either do one of two things, reuse the space and the land for something, i.e. a parking lot, a green space, rebuilding another structure at some point? Or is that?
Obviously I can't say that about building a structure, but when you look at the, one of the pieces of information we put together and shared with the board this week was on parking needs.
Okay.
When you look at everyone for the school department and the town hall, consultants that come in, residents that come in, parking becomes very crowded. During school years, you got the student parking, that's 175 off the top of my head. I'll
Right.
remember in a minute. So parking, it would probably be turned into a parking lot, maybe a little grass area for the employees to go sit.
Okay.
Or
All right.
residents.
That's helpful. Thank you. So then the other option would be if we demolish it and decide not to use it for town use, then it would go to surplus. And if that is the case, then that would mean that it would go out to RFP and we would offer it up to anybody that puts in to it. So if somebody wants to come in and build condos, they could, in theory. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, so that's the determination as to so the determination about whether or not to put that at the surplus rests with the town manager's office.
Right.
And then we would need to, it would certainly be a conversation with the select board if that were to ever happen as to what limitations or restrictions we may or may not put on that request for a proposal. So, if,
Okay.
you know, there was a proposal that they'd be put out to surplus and say, we're looking for a community organization. You could do that. You could say, we want senior housing, so
Yep.
give us proposals for senior housing. We want, you know, market rate residential. We want anything.
Okay.
We would be in charge of that process if it ever got to that point.
Okay.
We could steer as the town how we wanted that to be
Okay.
used.
Just asking because that strongly impacts my recommendation, because I abut the land. And I, unfortunately, being a part of a lot of those town school admin building meetings, felt the pain and had a lot of concern that the folks on Powder House did when they happened to find out that some of the land wasn't actually theirs. So that is the last thing I want to happen to my property. So I guess my next question would be, where does one find, like, has the land been surveyed for the Buzzell Senior Center?
The construction site was surveyed, but we didn't, I wouldn't say that they were.
Went up
we
that
wouldn't
way?
have surveyed that because we weren't doing anything on that construction of that property.
Okay.
But those records would be with the engineering's office.
Okay.
And they would be able to tell if it had been surveyed at a certain point, there could be metal rods in the ground that you can find with a metal detector. There could be holes in, if there's this permanent cement structure or rock, there's sometimes holes. So there could be some things already marking it.
Okay.
I'm not aware because the construction stopped before the Buzzell.
Okay.
So I don't know when the last time an engineering plan was done for that.
Okay, because
Has your land been surveyed?
I don't actually know, but now that was a strong thing that I was considering doing after the folks on Powder House ran into that. I will say, actually, when they did come out in a survey for the town admin building, my husband did actually ask one of the gentlemen, and he said, it looks right about perfect, because we do have a fence that runs against the woods. But, again, I mean, when it comes down to it, I just want to make sure, because my concern is if we do demolish the building, and even if it is used for a parking lot, are we going to tear down all the trees in the woods and run it right up to my property? Or are we going to keep that rock wall? That's my biggest concern.
Yeah, again, those are all things that
Yeah.
we wouldn't decide as a committee.
Right.
But being part of the buildings and looking at the parking lots and all that, right now, the space that the building would take would give us additional parking for elections and different
Okay.
things that are going to happen in that building. I don't see us, and Jamie's the tree warden, I don't see us taking down trees in the near future in that area or anything.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there would certainly be another public process before,
Yeah.
the lot were to be redeveloped, if that were the avenue that we would go. But to answer your question, I think in the short term, the town has a GIS map
Yep.
that will give you a very approximate
Okay.
idea of where your property line is in relation to an aerial photo. You might be able to see your fence on that.
Okay.
If there's a major discrepancy there, you can make your own determination on whether to hire a private surveyor, but that would be your best bet
Okay, perfect.
for property line determination.
Perfect. That makes sense.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh.
Eric, did you say you could steer the decision for, like, or would it be a vote? Because I understand her concern, like, when you said you could steer the use of it, does that mean would it go to a town vote? Oh, we're going to change the use and they could build condos, or no? I think that's one of the big concerns too.
Yeah, so I mean, I think to go back to something that Mr. Shalfor said, the underlying zoning is R20.
Okay.
So
Which means, just for people that may not know, what does R20 mean?
So residential 20,000 square feet.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
single-family home, thank you, yep.
Okay.
So that determination would be made if it's ever made multiple steps down the road.
Yeah.
Like a vote, or is it with the select board? That's what I would like to know. Like,
It wouldn't be a vote.
It wouldn't be, okay, so it would be made by the town, you?
Yeah, it would be
Okay.
made by the administration with the select board as to what it would put out for. But, that's a, when choices are made to do that type of work, I've been here for a year. We haven't done anything like that. I don't envision it happening. If it did happen, it would be far down the road with multiple public processes with the select board.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you, I grew up in Wakefield, and Wakefield is not what it used to be 20 years ago. So I see how these things progress. Okay. So my recommendation would be, well, actually, I have one last question before I make the recommendation. As part of the new town hall project and the new senior center project and the town hall school admin building, would there be an opportunity to take a look at some of the allocated funds for those projects and see if there's a way to cover some of the renovations that are required for the Buzzell?
Under Mass General Law, you can't appropriate money for one thing and move it to another.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
That prevents us from doing that. Like,
Okay.
You can't have, say there was $500,000 left over from the senior center build. We can't then take and say, hey, geez, I'm going to put it into the Buzzell.
Okay.
It's just not how it would work.
Okay. Just trying to think creatively, because I think, so then my recommendation would be, I mean, somebody like WCTV going in there, it makes sense for them. I mean, if they're already paying $80,000 a year, if we think of the longevity of it, 1.2 mil, that's what, 12 years down the line, the renovations are paid off for. If we were to hold, even if they were to pay rent, or if it could be a multi-use, if we renovate it and WCTV goes in there and then somebody else, and we charge rent. So that would be my recommendation, because it would keep the integrity and the history of the building, which I think a lot of people would be happy with. It would keep me happy, because then I don't have, a massive thing happening and an unknown happening behind my house. And then the third, it future-proofs me from needing to sell my house if, for some reason, 20 years down the line, when I theoretically would still like to be living there, condos can't go up. So that would be my recommendation and my ask.
I think that's great that you mentioned that, and I think that I share your concern, and I think that too little emphasis is placed on empathy for our fellow residents when it comes to projects like this.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that, because I think we do need to consider that, and the neighbors. I've seen I've been in this town a long time, and I've seen too many projects just keep going with disregard for any of the abutting residents. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And
You're welcome. And I will say, we've been strongly impacted by the town hall building.
I know.
And I'm all here for it. I know that the building needs to go up, but I think, Dennis, I might have called you after, because we were told by the project manager that the noise was going to be stopped, and I think I spoke with you on the phone, and you were like, 2 or 3 more weeks, and there's nothing you guys can do about that, and I appreciate that from you for the transparency, but we've been through a lot already. This would really, my recommendation, or something like it, would really help pull the thorn out of our side that we already have in there. So,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can I just want to share something. Can everybody hear me? I don't know. Is this on? Okay. I just want to share some numbers with everybody, because I'm getting the feeling that a lot of people think for us to bring this building into compliance with ADA that it might be $1 million, and that's just not the fact. That's not true. And anybody can get this preliminary cost estimate, and it's preliminary, for the former Wilmington Senior Center. That we discussed this at our last meeting. So it's public information. But when I do the math, I come up with, to bring it to ADA compliance, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, I come up with $157,000, or there around $200,000 if you want to throw in the plumbing. There's a lot of other things on this list that doesn't need to happen right away, that can happen over time, like replacing the roof, upgrading the lighting maybe, upgrading the HVAC and electric with heat pumps is $250,000. So there's a lot of things on this list that you could still, use that building and do over time, maybe a capital plan. And so I think that people might find this useful. I just want to let everybody know that it's out there, and I don't want anybody to think it would cost $1 million to get this into compliance with ADA. It's just not the case. That's not what this list says. And I do feel sympathy for the people in the neighborhood also. And we've heard that time and time again from people that have been coming to the meetings. So I just want everybody to know that we are paying attention to that. There was something else too, but I know what it was. On this list, the cost per square foot to bring this into, if you met all these needs in this cost estimate, it's $159 per square foot is the estimate. And I'm pretty sure if you want to rebuild the building, I think it was probably double that to build the senior center, the new senior center. I think it was around around 300 per square foot. So according to this, it's $159 per square foot. So if you want to rebuild that building, it would cost you a lot more. I just wanted people to understand that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm Sam Perkins. I'm the director at WCTV. People have brought us up, so I figured I should just come up and share a few things. I'm an advocate for us having the opportunity to be moved into that building or another building. If this process continues and doesn't happen with that, I'm sure we'll be back again. But I just wanted to sort of clarify some stuff. Being moved into this building is something that could save WCTV. If something doesn't change with our financial situation, we're about 2 years away from not being able to operate anymore. And why does that matter? So there's two things that everyone should understand, which is one, the impact we have on the community, and two, the reasons why we're in this situation. The impact on the community, we're a staff of, if you put it on paper, 4.25 at this point, as far as full-time versus part-time hours. 10 years ago, WCTV had 12 plus paid employees. We're not down that low because we want to be. We're down that low because the financial realities for public access. Our funding has fallen off a cliff, not just us, it is statewide. We're in better shape than a lot of access stations. There's more than 70 right now that don't know how they'll make payroll after 2025. And that's because the model that brought access into existence, it no longer works. There was legislation in 1984 nationwide, provided funding for public access TV by charging cable companies a rate to be able to provide cable services in town. WCTV gets 5% of all the cable sales in the town of Wilmington. That's Comcast and Verizon. It was great when everyone had cable. Cord cutting has happened. 2015 on has fallen through the basement. It's not because of any impropriety from any public access station. It's public access literally has no control over its funding mechanism. Subscribers for Comcast and Verizon, which is who provides cable in Wilmington, in the last 5 years, across the state, there are numbers on this, have dropped by 40% or more. Comcast, who gives us about 70% of our funding, down 42%, Verizon, a little under 40. So right there, our funding is gone. We get nothing from streaming, we get nothing from internet, we get nothing from any of that. Our raw dollar amount in the past 5 years from Comcast and Verizon, down about 30%. You factor in inflation, it's over 40%. Inflation in our space, in the telecom space, over the past 5 years is about 40%, which is astronomical. So you see funds going down, inflation going up. It doesn't work long term. A lot of towns that see the value in public access are doing something very similar to this, or providing other supplemental funding. Someone mentioned Billerica, their facility is beautiful. I've been over there a bunch of times. It's amazing, phenomenal. What do I envision with the space? Maybe not something as elaborate, but the same kind of purpose. And just for the record, Billerica is a town of about twice our size, and we do at WCTV, about 8 times the production that BATV and Billerica does. And I don't mean any disrespect to them, but we do 8+ times the production of any access station in any comparable size community. Last year for the community of Wilmington, we did more than 1,100 videos. In a comparable community, we were polling across the state. We weren't finding access stations that did more than 200. We do a lot. We cover the town in a way that we never have before. If you look at the stuff that we produce now, it is professional level. And we do it, like I said, with a staff of 4.25. We do it because we are passionate about the community. I don't know the last time Matt's here, Maria's here, any of us worked less than 50, 60 hours a week because we love it. It's not because we're getting paid to work that much. We cover Wilmington in every space. And I think a lot of people only know us in the segment they're in, whether it's town government or sports or anything like that. But we do it all. From May 3rd to May 10th, and May 3rd was the annual town meeting, which was an 8+ hour meeting, and it was like 12+ hours for our staff. In addition to that town meeting, we did 33 other shoots around town. We have 14 interns from Wilmington High School that we are teaching, training. They are producing all kinds of different things, from a stop-motion docuseries to podcasts promoting Wilmington High School to a short film to a food show that they got off the ground, showcasing different restaurants in town. We've had an audit being put together on the value of the work that we did. Last year in 2024, if we were a private production company, it'd be more than $3 million worth of work we did for the community of Wilmington. That is if we charge the bottom third market rate for the work that we did. We're the biggest promoter of the Wilmington Public Schools. We know at the Wilmington Public Schools at the high school level, enrollment has been a struggle. We've this year alone, 2025, already done 500 different videos on the Wilmington Public Schools, on different aspects of it, sports, the arts. We've gotten more than, last 2024, we had more than 4 million views on our Wilmington Public Schools content on social media. That's the biggest way kids consume their content. We also, I heard mentioned, I agree completely about not having a rec center, a youth space. We fill a lot of those gaps. We have more than 100 kids that come through WCTV every year, participate in our youth programming. Many of them are young film creators, but many of them are just looking for a safe space to come hang out, watch movies, do homework, have snacks, have some peace, and we are open to them all the time. If you want to know the impact or what we do, I'd recommend stopping by any day over the next couple weeks. You get a great blend of programming, high school students, middle school students, all the different things that we do. Last year we paid a little bit more than $83,000 a year in rent. We're coming to the end of a 20-year lease. We can't afford our rent, and I guarantee our rent's not going down. So this is the kind of thing that could save a very valuable resource to the community. And that's what we are. We provide training to anyone who wants it for free. We are the only place in Wilmington for students, for kids to learn video production, video editing, multimedia editing. It's not currently being taught in the public schools. It's an invaluable resource. The thought was in previous generations, oh, that's only for people who want to go make movies. No, it's invaluable for anybody. Any kid, whether you're going into real estate, whatever it may be, being able to produce a social media video, do your own marketing is an invaluable skill. And we do that for anyone that wants it. I know there's a lot of great causes, a lot of great different ideas on this, but I did just want to say that putting WCTV in that building is going to be giving back directly to the community because of everything we do. And with a lower rent, we'd be able to do a lot more because cost and our funding is not only not keeping pace with inflation, but it's going down. One final thing. I know that you guys have said either municipal or sort of knocked down. We're not a town department, but this would be returning to the initial conditions that WCTV came into existence in. In 1987, when WCTV was created, we only came into existence because of that legislation that was passed to tax the cable companies. From 87 until 2008, I know this from going through last weekend, all of the old roller cabinets that we have from pre-digital era and finding all of our old cobweb-covered leases with the town. We had a lease every year with the town in the old Swain School stipulating in that lease, it was a give-and-kind relationship between both parties. WCTV's give is that we guaranteed that we were going to cover Finance Committee, Select Board, School Committee, Annual Town Meeting, Special Town Meetings. And the town was giving us, in lieu of us paying rent, space in the Swain School. And that was the agreement for about 20 years until the Swain School was knocked down. When that happened, our give remained the same. We have an MOU with the town that specifies School Committee, Select Board, Finance Committee, Annual Town Meeting, Special Town Meetings. That was all in all of our leases. But that space from the town, that went away in 2008. So this would not be a new agreement. This would be returning to the sort of working relationship that we had when WCTV came into existence. So I appreciate your time. Sorry for being so long-winded.
Did the town offer you, like, when you had to go out of the Swain because of that, did they offer a place? Like,
I
what did
can't
they
speak to
say?
that because I wasn't around back then, but
Okay.
I have not found any record of it. No one has said that. I will say that no one who was here was involved in this, but when the town wanted to get the new town hall, school admin, senior center built, some parties involved came to us and said, hey, can you help us with marketing videos? Can you help us with videos on this? And if we get it passed, we'll do what we can to get you into one of these vacated buildings and return to that agreement. It wasn't written down, but it was discussed, sort of an open company. And we dropped everything and did those videos, which, given the very short time frame of the ask, was many $1,000s worth of work that we did pro bono for the town, which we take that same approach with everything that we can around town. So
Wait, those videos were recent or like from
2022.
2022?
Right before that special meeting in the fall of 2022.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for that information, Sam. Just curious, if this board were to deem the building reusable, and from my understanding, the select board were to assign it to an entity like WCTV, if it were to take several years to get the building up to code because of a change in use, say it's a 5-year capital plan project,
Mm-hmm.
do you have an interim plan between the 2 years it's going to?
So we're working right now. We've explored space. I don't see a move into a space that is going to be a commercial lease space in town being viable for us. We are hoping to talk with select board in town about potential short-term funding, which is happening in a lot of other towns. We're also trying to negotiate with our current tenants to give back some of the space that we have in the short term. Would sort of further curtail our capabilities, but if we give back square footage, hopefully we're paying less. So we're working on a lot of stuff, but we're applying for grants every day, exploring all options every day, but there's not an immediate path to this is what you do. There's an immediate path in the towns that have seen the value and chosen to provide supplemental funding to their access stations. Westboro, which is a comparable town, which used all of our data with our blessing, the town voted to fund them $152,000 a year in the short term. We're not looking for that much money, but there's nothing definitive. We're exploring all options.
Thank you. Anyone else on the board have a question for Sam?
Just a quick question. So there is potential there that the town could actually have more money budgeted for WCTV in the annual budget.
I can't speak for the town because we're not a town employee, and I think we're not at that place. I can just speak for what's happened in other towns that are comparable where they have come up with that funding, but every town is different. So I can't speak for that. But that's just an area that we're exploring.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
Anyone else on the board have a question for Sam? Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jennifer Hunt, 98 Woburn Street. I won't drag this on. I know that I've approached a lot of you individually. I've talked to at town meetings and or select meetings. I'd like you to seriously consider that building for the Arts Council or something similar. I've shared with many of you that one of our goals is to be able to get a building that becomes more than just what the Arts Council used to be. The Arts Council is actually supposed to be the Wilmington Culture and Arts Council, which is supposed to encompass the overall town. It's supposed to give back to the town in a variety of different ways. And that's something that we're working towards. And to other folks' point, one of the things that's really important to us is building up more of a community center for the kids during the day, but also for adults at night that maybe want to take photography classes or just need to get out of the house because they want to do book club. If you watch Facebook, if you interact with people on those Wilmington community pages, there's so many desires there that are not expensive, not hard to do, but require a facility and a place and someone to coordinate it. I agree with the television, Wilmington's community television, that they require space too. And that's an ask that I would ask you to take into consideration is, in the short term, is there a building like the senior center that would be viable, that we could cohabitate it? We have the same goals, we have the same visions for the community, for the kids, for the town, where we could take a building like that and use it as a temporary housing space until a greater solution could be identified, or until we could identify the scope of how much space the Arts Council may grow into, or so that those things could happen and we could support each other. So my ask would be to consider providing that building to the Arts Council with an option to be able to share that space with another group that would complement it and help support it and continue to nurture that environment that we're trying to build for Wilmington. From a parking perspective, the kids would be in there during the day. They park in the student parking lot, right? If you think about it, the parking that we would see from an adult group would be more often at night when the town hall is closed. So that's a non-issue. Because of the types of activities that we want to do, because of the things that we want to bring into that environment, it would be a positive thing for somebody to have in their neighborhood. I wouldn't want somebody renting that space and having different events or different programs or different kinds of clubs and things like that. I think those are all wonderful things for the community to have, but there's a place for each of those. And if it was my neighborhood, I wouldn't want that there. But to have a community center there, it doesn't change the dynamic of what it is today. A community center would just be an offset of the senior center. Instead of focusing on that demographic, we would be focusing on a younger demographic, maintaining a building in the same way, providing the same environment for that community that they already have in that neighborhood. So that's my ask, that's my recommendation, is the Arts Council needs a place to be. We had a building. I understand why they took it away, but the town did come to a group of us and ask us to build that back, to nurture it, to develop it, and to take it to where the town needs it today. And it's impossible for us to do the things that we need to do and to support that if we're working out of our living rooms and we're constantly asking to borrow space and we don't have a home to start to do that. I think to the point of the cost of the construction, we don't need a lot, right? And there's a lot of folks that would donate that I've already talked to that have said they could donate time or they could donate funds or whatever it might be to get those things fixed. And if I have to throw air conditioners in the windows, I throw air conditioners in the windows for a summer. But there's not 3 years to wait for this to happen. The community needs these things now. And I'm asking that we find a solution, even if it's a short-term solution where you say we can only promise you can be in it for 2 years. And if we can't come up with the funding and we have to tear it down, you'll have to go someplace else. But I think that you need to look at it from that perspective and see all the good that could come from that. So that is my ask.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Janet Carosa Ingram, 33 Ellen Park Drive. I am the Vice President for the Wilmington Sons of Italy Lodge, and I've listened very intently to all that has been said tonight, and I first want to thank you all for the hard work that you've put into this, and I thank you for the opportunity to come and speak on behalf of my lodge. First, I'd like to address the neighbors, the neighborhood, and the concerns, and I 100% understand their concerns. I'd like to start by saying, and nothing offensive against the Knights of Columbus Hall, that has a certain purpose. That's not our purpose. That's a very large space that accommodates a very large population of people. That's not who we are. Our goal and our gift to the town is all that we contribute continues to the town. John went over a list of some of the things. And we're talking dollars and cents, so I'd like to put out there that so far, we have contributed $1.6 million in tangible items alone. That has nothing to do with all the other charitable events that we do. I'm like a young one in the Sons of Italy, okay? So we're not having wild parties. If you call Turkey Bingo a big night that ends at 9, or maybe Valentine Bingo that ends at 9, which, by the way, we have been doing at the Senior Center for years now without disturbing anyone in the neighborhood. I think part of that thing is that these neighbors have been disrupted by parties at the Knights of Columbus. I have friends who live on School Street, so I know for a fact that they've had that issue. That's not what we're about. We have 2 big functions a year, and guess what? They're usually at the Knights of Columbus. And the Senior Center just doesn't accommodate, and that's not what we want. We want a home. We want to serve our community, continue to serve our community in more ways than we already have. And one of the ways that we can do it is by having a home. And as Mr. Romano had pointed out, our intent is to have it, if it's available, to let other organizations share in that. We're not looking for this to be a 2-year fix. We're looking for this to be our home. And I'm very, very proud of what we've done for the town of Wilmington. I've been a volunteer for many years, from when my children were in kindergarten right through their whole school years, through strings attached, but I have never felt the passion for what we're doing because of how many people we affect. So I beg you to think about the value that Sons of Italy brings to Wilmington and what we will continue to bring, and not at the expense of neighbors, not destroying anyone's property. We just want to bring good, because that's what we're all about. We're about charity and fraternity. So please, I ask that you think about that when you're making your evaluations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mary Lamont, 17 School Street. As you know, I passed in a letter and signatures at the first meeting, over 100 signatures in support of WCTV. The neighbors would like to have someone in there. As you know, senior citizens came and left at 3 o'clock, and it was quiet. It's kept a nice neighborhood. That's all we want. We want someone in there that has regular hours, that is not going to bring in other people and be there at night. WCTV was in the building at the bottom of the hill when I first moved there. We never even knew they were there. They have no traffic at all. Anytime I've been there, there's been either 2 or 4 cars. They do a tremendous amount for the town. And all of my neighbors, almost every house, has children from 2 months to elementary school. So I just think it's important that we have someone in there that is going to be quiet. We don't have to worry about on the weekends things going on, or in the evening things going on. It was never like that. We have enough with the new town hall and school administration building. And when all is said and done, when you're finished recommending this building and putting someone in there, you move on to the next building. We're still there. We'll be there forever. And so we would like to see WCTV in that building, only because they've done a tremendous amount. In speaking with Sam Perkins, he said they gave 3,000 hours last year to the town. And I just think that's tremendous. I can't think of everything I wanted to say, except I hope you'll give serious consideration to the residents and what's going to happen after you walk away and go to the next building. Thank you very much.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You said you collected 100 signatures?
Over 100.
Did you submit them to this board?
I gave them to them the first meeting, right after the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, can we get that petition in our next communications package?
Yes. Do you have it? I have more.
I'll look at my active.
Yeah, I passed it in at the end of the
Everything I
first.
have from day one.
So, you know, that tells you, and every single person I spoke with was 100% behind WCTV being in there. And no one, you know, had any hesitation in signing the petition. So I would really appreciate it, and I appreciate everything that the Sons of Italy has done and it continues to do. But certain things that, different situations, different organizations can have functions at night in a lot of traffic, and it would be helpful, especially with the new building right beside us.
Thank you very much.
And again, if you want to leave me another copy of it, everything I have from day one is in this pile. Look, I'll check and make sure I have it.
I'll give it
but
to you
I
at
know
the
we
end.
talked about it again.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Mr. Chair, Paul Shalfo, 48 Hopkins Street. Just a point of clarification from a point that was discussed earlier, the municipal use or demolition. Could you kind of define municipal use as
One of the municipal departments that exist in town today, or the groups that are part of it.
Okay. And if not that, move on to the demolition of the building itself.
Again, we'll make our recommendation to.
But is that what that
Yeah,
means?
it would-
So absent, could you tell me what the nexus might be between municipal use or demolition, or is there a side, segue into it being declared by the town manager as, what's the word I'm looking for? Surplus property, where then it would go to a request for proposals for another use? Or is this committee strictly municipal use or demolition?
Our charge so far has been municipal use and, or demolition, or how it can be used by the town.
Okay.
So from there, if it was to be surplus, that would be what the town manager decides.
So it could go that way, possibility.
I think, later in the meeting, I was going to share some information on parking. I'll just share it quickly because it kind of has to do with what you're
Sure.
saying. Right now, there's 56 town hall employees, 35 school employees that will be going to the new town hall, 175 student parking spots. On average, there's 20 between residents, auditors, consultants, and et cetera, people coming into the town hall. The number of spaces available, and that's a total of 286. The number of spaces available in the front parking lot is 284, and so right now we're short 2 parking spots on a daily uses.
Sure.
Having the back parking lot gives us another 40 with the building in place. So that brings up to 324, and that's 38. Then you have, in order to make that a polling station, you have to have so many parking spaces available for that to be a space. And the clerk, I was going to confirm today, but I believe it's 75 to the assistant clerk, she thought, but I was going to confirm with Beth. So that's another 75, I'd have to have 75 out of that. So that's another 35 more.
Okay.
So if the building wasn't there, we'd have
Sure.
spaces. But
Sure, it could have a municipal use without the building standing there.
Exactly.
Okay.
It would still be a municipal parking lot.
Sure. And just to, I had made mention of the permitted uses because I was looking at it at the dinner table tonight. I wasn't going to throw out there something that might not have been permitted, and I'm going through the permitted uses for residential areas. And like I said, it's very narrowly defined.
Yep.
And one of them that is not in it is a lodge or a club. I mean, they're specifically excluded from residential, all of the, R10, R20, and R60. So lodges, as far as any fraternal organization goes, is not permitted in an R20 zoning. So I understand the Sons of Italy and what they have done and what they continue to do for the town, for the town's benefit, and I believe that's greatly appreciated by everybody that lives here. But I'm going through the table of uses and to make sure that I'm not standing up here suggesting something that just doesn't fit into a residential, or into any of the Rs. And I noticed that is one of them, as is hotels, as is, other, marijuana dispensary or whatever it may be. There's the permitted uses under the R10, 20, and 60, and then there's the ones that are not, and some of them are covered by special permit. But That has to be really kind of, I think, where the board needs to really be focused is the permitted uses.
Yeah, and again, after we do our evaluation, and
Sure.
come up with things, if the land is deemed surplus, that RFP would have to be planned based on the select board, the town manager.
Sure.
The town manager has to deem it surplus to
Sure.
do that.
Okay.
Municipal use would be the parking lot itself. But that would come down to the select board and the town manager, of what the RFP would be and how to direct it to what you'd want there.
Sure.
And the only thing they could do an RFP for would be exactly what you're saying.
Sure.
The uses.
Yeah.
I don't think the town would sell it to a builder. I don't think the town would, those wouldn't be, my personal opinion. Again, I can't speak for things. So that would be an RFP based on what they thought could fit on that property and on a town municipal land.
And just one final note, sorry.
Fine.
One final note. For the actual permitted uses, I think I want to kind of piggyback on what some of the abutters say, and even if it is a permitted use, to be cognizant of how close people live to this building. I mean, it's just the width of the parking lot on the building side to the first house on School Street on the hill going towards Drury Lane. It's just the width of the street to the abutters on the opposite side of School Street. So even if it is a permitted use, to be cognizant of that permitted use and how it would impact the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just to be clear, I think that, we're collecting the data here and we're just going to present it to the selectmen, and, it's up to any special organization to get a special permit or a zoning variance if they were interested, if it got to a point where there was an RFP poured out. So we're going to, I hate to say this, but we're going to throw this in your laps at some point, We're aggregating all the data, and that's what we're doing here. So I'm not so worried about permitted uses. We're going to put it down on paper and let them sort it out at the end. Thanks everybody for showing up here tonight, and thanks for your time in coming down here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joe Maselli, 25 North Street. Just want to thank all of you, first of all, for volunteering on this committee. I know some of you are on 2 or even 3 committees, so just taking your time. 4? Well, either way, I want to thank all of you for just volunteering and stepping up. But I kind of want to look at the bigger picture for a minute here. And since you're charged with making a recommendation to the select board, and I know the cadence of meetings slow down for the select board and just all committees during the summer, do you have a timeline or a date where you'll make like a formal recommendation to the select board?
We were originally charged with a 6-month term by the town manager, but as we started, and again, none of us know each other. I mean, I know Jamie, I know Paul from 2 committees, but everybody else. So our first meeting, we were like, well, where do we begin? So I'd say the first 2 or 3 meetings, we've been trying to figure our way. I keep saying the next building and the next building after that are going to be easier because we'll have a roadmap. So we've lost some time trying to create a process, but we want to make sure we're thorough, and all the input of our team and everyone in the audience, we've taken the input and then try to make adapt to what people thought to make sure we're transparent and make the right decision for the town. And when it comes to a vote, we'll agree to disagree, but know that we did the due diligence to get the right information, as much information, and then create a report to give the select board to make the right decision. So hopefully, I'd love to say that tonight we're going to fill out a scorecard and be done and going to vote. We have one more meeting coming up, but when you think about the possibility of a demolition, or if it got to a point of release or something else, do you want to rush this end of it to get to that end of it? And I think everyone on this board agrees the meetings are worth it to make sure we get all the data and present the right things to the select board so they can make the appropriate decision. So ideally, we were hoping to be by June, but with the summer months coming, it's still a target, but I can't promise that it's going to be there. The next building will absolutely be, I'd like to say faster. It'll be more streamlined, I'll say, because we're going to know the path. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that?
No, I don't disagree. I think originally we had a 6-month charge, like Dennis said, so that brought us to August to bring a recommendation. I would say we're hoping to make that target, and then where the select board take it at that point forward remains to be seen.
Right.
And even once if you think about July and August, trying to meet as a board with vacations and summer, I think the select board only meets twice in the summer, so that August might be September. But we've got to try to make sure we can all communicate, meet. And in the summer, you people are all on vacation as well. So if we're trying to make that final decision without all the input of people on vacation, it almost takes some of the transparency away. So I just want to do what's right for the community when we're all said and done.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think not rushing on this is the best thing to do. I'm more coming in as like a make sure we keep the conversation going. Because I mean, we could honestly talk about what to do with this building for months and years. But I think tonight's been a great conversation, and I think everyone's brought a lot of really good points. So not only was tonight great, but also depending on what this committee winds up doing, if we're going to keep this building, I think going to the select board and voicing your thoughts and opinions at that board, if it gets to that point, is something I would recommend. So thank you for tonight. I think we've had a great conversation. I think we're moving in the right direction. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, a quick question. Yes. I know earlier in the meeting you said that there were going to be paper surveys available that were going to be brought to the seniors.
Part of our agenda tonight is that we finalized the survey last week. We're going to, we thought we'd have the public forum tonight, and then we would release it online, and then we'd drop samples off at the senior center as well during the next week. And then between now and our next meeting, we'll try to collect those, formulate the data, and be able to share that with the board and the public.
Right. Would it be possible for us to get copies of the paper survey for our lodge? So I have
absolutely. If you want to, I don't know if you have my telephone, John, but if you want to reach out to me.
Patricia's on the committee. She's
I'll ask her.
make her do something.
I will
right?
email her the link or the handout. And
can we make copies here?
I don't have the code to the copier. There's a code on this copier.
We haven't even approved the survey that's on our agenda, but I would recommend that we take that back and finalize it to put online. Once it's online, you can print it from the internet. That's all we're going to do when we give it to the senior center director. But either way, we can.
Okay,
get it.
thank you. I just wanted, I don't want to do something I couldn't
to
do.
make it streamlined, I have no problem printing some copies for people, and I'll have them available at my office as well, 30 Church Street.
Okay.
And I'll have them on my counter, and people can pick them up there.
Where do they return them?
So that's the beauty of this online survey is that if you use it online, and it's going to be a very easy survey to do online, is that it tallies automatically. So I would encourage you, if you're internet savvy, or even if
Yeah, absolutely. We have some members
to
that
do
you
it
might
online. But
imagine.
I disagree. I think we need paper surveys.
But
I
that's
think
not what I
there's-
said. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I just-
So what I was going to say is the paper versions are for people who don't want to use the internet. So we're hoping we have a little bit less of those. But what we'll do is I can volunteer to. We'll probably ask the town hall to be a center collection agency, or the senior center itself, or the library. There'll be several, and once they're collected, we'll probably. We can use town staff to tally them, and I can volunteer some of my clerks to do that.
We'll encourage everybody to do it electronically, but we will have some that.
Yeah, and there'll be a restriction electronically, so you
Thank
can
you.
only do one from, it remembers the IP address. Each person can only vote one from that computer. It's going to remember the computer. So that's where your phone will probably be a good option, too.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Romano, I have a question for you. How big is your organization?
We have about 200 members roughly.
Okay.
We typically have about 50 people at a meeting on a
50 at a
monthly
meeting?
So we have about 50 or 60 active people. As you might imagine, most organizations, not everybody's there at every meeting, but our typically monthly meeting, we have 50, 55 members.
Okay.
That's our typical.
And that's what you meet monthly?
We meet every month, fourth Thursday of every month at the Methodist Church.
Beyond that, what type of activity would people expect at your building on a weekly basis?
Right now, on a weekly basis, we have almost none. We have a couple of times over the course of the year, we've had Valentine's bingo, turkey bingo,
And those
a
are the big
trivia
ones?
night. No, these are small, like
Okay.
30 people, 25 people. These are members-only events.
Okay.
The things we do weekly, like in the summer, we have bocce over at Jack's house and,
yeah.
things like that. But I mean, as far as in-house stuff, they're very small. If we had a home, a lodge, we would be doing like a book club or sewing circles and movie nights, all for in-house members. These are not things we would be advertising for the community. That's not what we're looking to do.
Okay.
These are all for in-house small member only. As Janet said earlier, the two big events we do our comedy night and we do the Christmas party. We do them outside. The comedy night's at Tewksbury Wilmington Elks.
Okay.
Right? And if we do a dance or something, it's at the Knights of Columbus maybe once a year. That's what we do.
Thank you.
All right.
Just, Michelle, that last comment I made came out a little abruptly, so I want to apologize for that. Yeah, I was in the middle of a thought, and after I said it, I said, I didn't mean it to sound like that.
No, listen, I just wanted to make sure I understood because I empathize with a lot of folks around town who don't have access to
We definitely
online.
agreed last meeting to do both.
Yes. Yeah.
And we'll find a way to tally it all. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Gary DePalma, 46 Swain Road. Chairman, thank you very much for having this. What I'm seeing is that I think more of the residents are more concerned of what this building is going to be used for, which is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But this is not the place to be discussing that. You're charged with what to do with the building, not who belongs there or what belongs there. That charge is going to end up more than likely with the select board and the town manager. But right now, their concern is, what do we do with this building? Do we tear it down or do we rehab it? And I don't know the exact figures. I don't think you've really produced them yet. But I'm sitting there looking, if it's $1 million, what are the other residents going to say? They complain about whatever we do with money. Well, it's $1 million. $1 million is $1 million. And if it's worth it, so be it. But you're charged with determining what to do with this building. And if you can't get a vote one way or the other, presenting it to the board as, we don't know what to do with it. But I'm not expecting that. I want to thank everyone. The sons and daughters of the Italian of Italy have done nothing but terrific things for the town, and not just the town, all over the country. WCTV, they do a good job. They do a really good job, and they're beneficial. But we're going to have other buildings that are going to be coming up for debate, and it's not going to be that far in the future, as we all know. So let's not just concentrate on one building. And if this building doesn't go the way you want it, and hypothetically it's torn down, don't give up hope. Look at the other buildings that we're going to be having that are going to be presented to this committee to decide what to do with, and focus on those. There's going to be a number of them. But don't lose faith in Wilmington if this building doesn't go your way. This is a financial decision. It's a neighborhood decision. And that's the other thing, too, is I'd like to hear more from the residents. The residents I've spoken to have said right out to me they want it taken down. That's their opinion. But let's hear from them. Let's hear from them and hear what they want. It's their neighborhood, too. We're all in here discussing this. And where are the residents? Are there any residents here? Here we go. Of the area, excuse me. Abutters. The last I knew, a number of abutters didn't want it there anymore. So let's hear from them also before your final decision is made. I know they were here, I believe it was for your first meeting, and they spoke against keeping the building there. But why did we build a new senior center? because it was determined that that building wasn't suitable anymore. Not just too small, it wasn't, you're right, too small, but it wasn't suitable. I was in that building, and I'm a senior. I'm 72 years old with lousy legs. And I couldn't walk in some of those rooms because the floorboards were crooked and everything else. It's an old building. Those things happen. We understand that. My house has got them. But let's not dwell on who should get it. Let's dwell on what should be done with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I respond to that?
Oh, I was
Oh,
gonna
so
too.
Susan, you go.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for everything that everybody has said, because to me it's really valuable, and it's true. Our charge is not to decide who gets to use the building if the building doesn't get torn down. But what's very useful to me is to see what the need is in the community. And I hear there's a lot of need in the community for some space, for whether it's town space or whether it's not, if it's private space. It seems to me like we need space. And it's going to be up to the select board to decide whether or not that need for space is worth the amount of money that this building needs to bring it up to code and to bring it up to proper use. And I just want to remind everybody once again, if you need to look at these numbers, and I believe when we make a recommendation to the board that that's going to be part of the conversation to the board, is that we had so many people come out showing interest in the building and whether or not that interest is good enough to offset the costs. And I think that's where the rubber's going to meet the road.
Yeah, and to run off that, again, our charge is to do what we're doing, get as much data about the building as we can, get as much community input as we can, whether it's organization, it's residents, and put it together in a packet that is something that the select board can process, the town manager can process, and make a general business decision on what the purpose is. We could, as a board, vote it up, vote it down. It could be a split. And when it's all said and done, we're still going to present the package to the board with what our vote was, and from that vote, they will make their determination, and then we'll move on to the next building.
Yep.
But everyone's input's invaluable to this process.
Just one last thing. I just want to go on record as a resident / a butter. I do not want it torn down. I just want to make that known because I would like to maintain the view through the fence in my backyard and the trees to be that building and not the large brick monstrosity that is the town hall. So I want to put that out there so that everybody is aware. Thank you.
And I just wanted to, I do agree with Suzanne, and I just wanted to address Mr. De Palma and say, while I agree and you're factual in our charge, there is no other place to have a forum like this where we are hearing from all of the residents about all the possibilities and the wants and needs. Like Suzanne said, there's no other place other than social media, and I don't think that's fair just to do it online. This is super valuable. This is why I joined the committee, to hear from residents, from abutters, from people who want to use the building, all of the concerns. And again, we're not making that decision, but without having all of these meetings and hearing from all the public comment, we can't even begin to, this is being recorded. Other people are hearing what other residents want. There's really no other forum other than here to have that discussion in person. So I disagree with, we know what the charge is, but I think this is valuable and we need it. So just want to make that comment.
Mary Lamont. I live right beside the old senior center, the building we're discussing, and I want to say that I do not want it torn down either. It does block the view from the big building. And all the signatures that I have are from residents, and they all support WCTV going in there. The only ones I don't have are the people that weren't home the day I did it. It was like 98 degrees when I walked around. So I just want to say I do want the building there, and I hopefully You know, what will happen when it goes to the select board? Do we get to say something there, or is that just?
Every select board meeting's an
Open?
open meeting.
Okay.
And Frank West, the chair, is behind you, but I'm sure that people will have the ability to come in and speak when it's on their agenda.
Okay.
They have public comment. The theory is we'll get as much information we can, and that public comment probably wouldn't be as big as this, or it may be, who knows? But we wanted to give everyone the opportunity, no matter how long it took tonight, to give everybody their input so we can make the best decision to present.
And one other thing is, it's not, the signatures I have are not all from the abutters or the residents. It's all over Wilmington.
Good.
Thank you.
That should be the case.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
the survey is supposed to do. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening. Frank West, 2 Birchwood Road. Honored to be the newly minted chair of the Select Board. First and foremost, thanks to everybody. Thanks to the committee, audience, our fellow board members, WCTV for our filming. But I think one thing that would be important, at least in my determination of what your recommendation is when it comes to construction cost, you know, like we hear, you know, whatever the cost, I'll just leave the figure blank. But as it's ironed out into the different components, are there things that need to be done today? Are there things like Suzanne mentioned, you know, like a roof might be $200,000. Well, when does the roof need to be done? Is that something immediate or 2, 3, 4, 5 years downstream? So that if in fact the building is saved, you know, we'd come up with, you know, we'd have to have a capital plan to say, okay, well, we're saving it, and it's going to cost X dollars, but some of that maintenance, and again, I'm not trying to say defer maintenance that needs to be done, but I'm saying whatever maintenance, you know, if there's immediate things to get somebody in there, great. And now what do we do as far as, you know, again, I'm picking on a roof, but, you know, you want to make sure that the stuff that even if you defer, that you don't want to be totally inconvenient to the use. You know, like a roof is probably, 2 weeks or something like that, maybe to put on, I don't know. But if you're looking at, you know, windows, well, now you got to rip every window out, put windows in, and, you know, are you preventing the building from being used by that particular tenant while you're doing the things? But again, thank you all for doing this. And like I said, I think, to me, I think it would be important to see, you know, what our upfront maintenance would be, our rehab would be, and then, you know, what's our 2, 3, 4, 5 year capital plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak before we close the forum part of it? I want to thank everyone that came tonight, every invaluable input. Thank you for the time and effort on this late night. And we will take all your comments to heart. We will consider that in our conversations. I will work, as we finalize what all this, our paperwork and the data we've produced, I'll work with IT to get it posted on the town website so that it's available to everybody to see how we got to where we are, and that's what we're going to present. Once we get the report completed and written out that we're going to submit to the select board at some point, we'll post that as well so that people can see it and know what this committee is present to the board. So that's definitely things we will do before this building decision is made. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So next on the agenda, we can continue discussion. First of all, it's 9 o'clock, so, or 8:23. 8:23, so it's getting late, feels late. So I'd like to at least try to talk about.
Let me just bring this in.
I'll take one.
So we're still continuing our meeting. If you folks wouldn't mind just stepping out in the hallway to have your discussions, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so, you know, I did supply, like I said, some parking requirements and some information I got about that this week. Thank you very much. I'll make sure that's in the packet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I did talk to the school department, the town hall, the different departments and all that. So that's where that parking information came, but I wanted to make sure we had that as data, as that's important for the property. No, this
Still
is the
part of the
meeting, this is the
meeting.
next 3 items on the
Still have a
agenda.
couple of things on the agenda.
Yeah, we know big people wouldn't want to stay for everything, but,
I have it.
no, no.
Just don't know
Um,
where it is.
Sam had sent me an email about their desire to want it. I included that in the packet tonight, so that will be part of the select board meeting. I'm going to ask John Romano, Patricia, if you can have John email me his list, because I want to make sure that's part of, because it was part of the comments, I want to make sure when we put our packet together, that's available to the select board as well. I did include the pictures of the town, the Buzzell in the town hall. We were able to Photoshop it out and so you can see the difference with and without it. I thought that was where I could get it done, I thought it was something to show everybody, show the property with and without it, and the additional size of the area and the parking, but again, something to help us make a decision when we look at all the things. Let's see. So I think we've talked about a lot of the different items that need to go towards the scorecard. I don't know, I'd feel comfortable starting to work on the scorecard a little bit. I don't know if other people do.
Are we doing the survey?
The survey, okay, we can do the survey, that's right. So the survey, if everybody's fine with the changes we made, would like to release that tomorrow, and then I can have my clerk in the office print a bunch of copies, bring them down to the senior center, the library, put some in my office on the counter, and we'll make sure that people are aware that they're there. I think we made the adjustments based on everyone's input from last time. So if everybody's comfortable with the changes we made to the survey, I suggest releasing it tomorrow.
Yep.
Make a motion.
To release it?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it.
No.
So I can commit to getting that on social media, same way we did the graphic.
Yep.
Any other ideas for how to release that?
If you put it up there, like I said, I'm going to go to, I've already talked to Natalie at the library, I've already talked to Terry at the senior center. I'm going to put it in my office, and, so I think through social media, word of mouth from this group, I mean, obviously, we all know different people.
Does this,
Can the town send an email with the link of that survey, just like they sent an email with the advertisement for this meeting?
Yeah.
yes, so
Like
you
a
got an
robo?
email to the people who signed up for the bulk emails, probably.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
so that the town could do that too.
Yeah, I'm not on that bulk email.
And whatever social media that's
Yeah,
on
we'll
has,
have
so
IT
they
do
can-
that.
Twitter, Facebook.
What about the schools? They have a pretty, could we do that, or is that not used?
I can ask the school
correctly?
department,
I don't know
but
if it would qualify for that.
This time of year, it's starting to wrap down and wind down, so it's a little more difficult to, like, we just missed the big band concert, which is every grade level and all that, and they just had to play, so they're at the wind down part of the season. There's not a lot of indoor activities, they're all outdoor, so, it'd be hard to put them outside.
No, I meant,
Oh.
like the communication, like I get
Oh.
emails, like I know from the
Glenn
town.
Grant?
Yeah,
I can
like
ask
there's
Glenn
a,
if that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't speak for the school department.
That's fine.
And I don't know if they would or wouldn't.
Yeah, okay.
But, because I don't know, like, if the parents sign anything saying,
Usually each principal
yeah.
should have an email list of the
I know, but
It-
it comes down to the school department, whether, like, if parents give their email, I don't know if they commit to, I don't want other things other than school notifications. So
True.
I got to find
true.
out that school
Okay.
policy on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
We know where we can definitely put
I
it,
think it has to be approved by the superintendent.
yeah, and probably the school committee.
Yep.
So I know where we can definitely do it, and I think there's a lot of people that were in the crowd tonight, they're going to help spread the word and help us get that word.
So Dennis, the minutes for these, you're going to ask IT to post online. Does that mean,
The minutes so far, anything that's been approved so far is already online.
oh, it is?
Yeah.
So does this committee have its own website under the town
It's
committee menu?
I'm the building use, but the clerk's office, I send them the clerk's office, she's posted every one that we've approved. I'll send tonight's to her to approve.
Okay.
And she'll post them up there. I'm going to try to organize what we have as we're reviewing all our documents and put that up there as well.
So regarding the minutes where it is posted, so on our website, there is departments and
Committees.
the other, other committees. So in that committee, our committee, building deals committee is there. If you click
We
on
already,
that, we
it's
see
set
we
up for
have
its own
agendas
website.
and
Okay.
minutes
So
in
we can
that
put the
website.
survey link on that website too, probably.
It's not a separate website. It is
Oh,
on
it's
the
just for
Town
minutes?
of Wilmington website, which has committees like select board.
It's like every other committee
Yeah,
menu.
all the
Okay.
committees are
Yep.
there. There is an option
Yeah.
for all.
So I'll talk to the clerk's office about posting tonight's that are approved and I'll try to quickly get organized with all the stuff we're reviewing. Try to get that up there so people can see it. Susan?
I was under the impression, and perhaps I'm wrong, that last week we approved sending out a survey, not necessarily this survey.
We approved some changes based on the communication last meeting, and we're going to finalize it this meeting and then post it after the forum.
We agreed to do the public forum first and have that as a forum to announce the survey so people could go back and tell their neighbors and that sort of thing. So we didn't release it yet. The idea was to release it after the public forum.
I have a few questions. Am I too late?
On the survey?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
We haven't released it yet, and there's nothing that says we can't wait a day. If we all agree with what the change is, then we'll just make it
Right.
based on the changes that we talked about tonight.
Okay. First of all, are you a Wilmington resident? What was the thinking behind no, but I work in Wilmington?
Because I think a lot of people are vested in the community that don't necessarily live here. So that was why we put that on there. People that might work for, say, a company like Analog Devices, who's, maybe have worked in town for 30 or 40 years, and they're valuable members of the community but just don't happen to reside in town. And at least that way, too, when we get our results in the survey, and if 100% of the people who want to demo the building don't live in Wilmington, maybe that'll help us make our determination, too.
Okay. Number 2, tear down, save, and repurpose. Why can't we have a third category? Don't have an opinion.
I suppose we could. One of the last things that we talked about was putting a catch-all comment box at the very end of the survey. So if they just you don't have to select one or the other. In that case, if they didn't have an opinion, I would just say they would leave it blank. It might make the survey a little bit less complicated.
The good thing about checkboxes and yes, no's is when you try to calculate the data, it's easier than, once we get into a box where you can put comments,
We get 5 pages of comments.
and it's going to be hard to categorize them and organize them to be able to.
So we do have that in specifically number 7. There's and that was a recommendation from, I think, one of the select board members. So if we want to strike that, now's the time to do it.
Number 7. Neither do I.
You said 7?
Yeah, do we
Yeah,
have
if
the
you don't have
7?
number 7, then you don't have the updated survey.
No.
Was it emailed? Because I'll look at these.
So there's 3 pages to the survey. Does it say-
You sent me the one and I sent it back out after that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
Yeah,
made a copy.
I have it on the, I don't remember seeing the page 7.
So does your, down the bottom right, does it say 1 of 3 down here? But does it say 1 of 3 on the front page?
I think I'm just missing a page.
You have 1 of 2.
I am
Okay,
1 of
So
2.
you don't have the updated survey.
Mine says 1, 3, 2, 3, and then there's no 3, 3.
So you don't have the third page?
Yeah.
We have a mix-up.
I'm gonna look at my email and see.
So,
I don't have
I
it
can
either.
tell you what it
You don't
says.
have
Does it make
3,
sense
2,
at this
3?
point to just go through the survey?
We'll just read off the survey and talk about each one. Looks like one of the pages was missing.
Okay, so I'll just take the time and read it. Number 1, Wilmington's Building Reuse Committee wants to hear your opinion on whether or not the Buzzell School, former senior center school on School Street, built in 1935 and dedicated to Dr. Daniel T. Buzzell. Now, that was a comment made at the last meeting, so if that's in your survey, it should be the up-to-date one. Should be repurposed or demolished now that the new senior center on Main Street is operational. Please take a few moments to take the below survey and let your opinion be known. Number 1, are you a Wilmington resident? Yes, no, or no, but I work in Wilmington. Everybody okay with that?
Yep.
So far?
Yep. I'm fine with that.
Number 2, do you believe the Buzzell School, former senior center on School Street, should be torn down or saved and repurposed? Tear down the Buzzell School, former senior center. Option 2, save and repurpose the Buzzell School, former senior center. That's it.
I just have a question. Any thought why the order is that? I'm just being super picky, but why can't we have saved first? Like, I don't know. I just don't want to.
We can. It's a,
Does
it's a
anyone
committee
else?
vote.
I know it's being picky, but I feel like surveys are always designed, and I don't want to miss. I don't know.
I didn't think about it either way.
Okay.
I'm going to answer all the questions, so.
I don't have a problem
it's a
switching
good
it.
input.
I think
It's good
we
input.
should
I mean,
switch them.
I don't have a problem switching it.
Yeah,
If that's
so
what you want to do.
We'll go with the switch, and I'm fine with that. I don't think.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, saved and then switch the checkbox.
Well, I don't mean to be critical, but it sounded tonight a lot like it was municipal use or tear it down. And that there weren't, except we were hearing a lot of input for a lot of other uses. So we really are looking at all potential uses.
Well, again, the
And
charge,
priority is municipal.
yeah, but the
and then
charge from
everything
them
else
were,
follows.
was the building valuable? And if so, was there a public, municipal use for it, is what the
Correct.
charge is. So, and the option of that, opposite of that is, if not, tear it down.
Yeah, and this.
And a community
But
center
it-
is a municipal use.
So if it was deemed a community center and that the town, and select board and the town manager deemed that that's what they wanted,
That- in that
that could be
case,
an option, but again, that wouldn't
But
be.
does
us
that
to-
preclude like WCTV or
I don't,
Sons of Italy?
I don't, that would again be up to the select board. That wouldn't be our,
But I mean, when we do the evaluations, we can rate those and put them in the report.
we're going to put in a
Based
report
on
of
the number.
anyone that's come and approached us, we'll make sure is in the report of, these are the people that have showed interest, and we'll have a section
Right,
that says,
right,
this
right.
group, that group, that group. And again, what happens with the building, and then who goes in it, and what happens to that point, will leave us and go to the select board and
Right.
comment on it.
I think every option should be rated according to its response on the survey, and also committee members' input on, it'll be a little tricky, but I think we can do it. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if it's deemed, I feel like if it's deemed surplus and the board decides to, to allow another entity in there, I feel like that's still a municipal use in my mind.
Yeah.
Because any of the groups that came here today provide a municipal benefit. They provide a benefit to the community. So to me, I feel as though that's kind of a municipal use, if that makes sense. I mean, I know it's not technically, employees of the town using the building, but to me, I feel like that's a municipal use because they provide a
And
service to
again,
the
if we supply all the
municipality.
data and all the input
Yeah.
that we have with all those different groups, that'll be up to them to determine from that
Right.
point on which group is and which group isn't.
Right.
And that will really be out of our control.
Oh, yeah, at some point it does get out of our control.
That's okay, so we're still on number 2. Do we want to, other than switching the 2 comments, are we okay with that?
Yep.
Because we go into number 3, and now we're asking the people how they think it should be reused. So number 3, if you selected save and
Excuse me.
repurpose.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I still would like to see don't have an opinion, because I feel like when we did the school surveys, that was one of the problems, that they had already decided what the school was going to be. And there wasn't really an opt-out in any way on the survey.
So if the committee so chooses, I can add a third box that says, I don't have an opinion.
At which point then it's stop.
What's the third box? I'm sorry.
The suggestion is a third box on question number 2 that says, I don't have an opinion on whether or not to tear it down or
Yep.
save it.
I think that's valid.
That's fine. I
Yeah.
think that's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
All right, so we'll add that. Everybody okay to move to number 3? Okay, number 3, if you selected save and repurpose, how do you think it would best be reused? Option 1, town department use only, recreation department meetings, town-sponsored functions. Number 2, leased by nonprofits, which I think would carry the WCTV, Sons of Italy potentially, and any other nonprofit group, leased by other private groups, which could be a lot of different groups. I don't know,
So,
Wilmington Little League wants to lease it for a couple nights a month.
We collect the data.
Yeah, all we're going to do is collect the data. It becomes a data point for them to make decisions on.
What it comes down to is what the residents want.
Mhm. And I think the select board will probably use this data.
Yeah.
Again, like Eric said, we're collecting the data and presenting.
Yeah.
And an
Jamie,
option for
excuse,
us.
oh,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, the only thing I think is confusing, like, you might want to just put town departments or other, because I don't think people are going to differentiate some people might not know what a nonprofit is, some people might wonder what a private group is. If you just have town department or other, then they can put in what the other is, what they think it is. Do you know what I mean? I think.
Or community groups.
Community group
Yeah,
or
like
something like that.
Exactly,
yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and then I think where the box is, where they can write it in,
Mhm. Which is question
if you
4.
answered above, don't put other, because then they'll think if they clicked on one thing, they can't
Yeah,
put
I mean,
other.
if you look at question 4, which is next, it says, if you answered other above, what do you have in mind? I think that answers what you're trying to say.
Yeah, just don't say other, because then they'll think, like, if they pick town department use only, someone may want to put in rec department. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying take out the other on the box, like, so people can write in specifically what they want.
That's what the question 4 is. So question 3 is asking, do you think it's any of these 3? And if you don't think it's any of those first 3, you select other. And then question 4 is saying, if you chose other, what are the other uses you're thinking of?
Okay.
How about just adding et cetera? Town department use only, rec department, town sponsored functions, et cetera.
To cover other town departments? Sure.
Yeah, it's simple.
I just think, okay, I think it's going to confuse people with the nonprofit and the private group.
So what if you combined those 2 bullets and said, community groups,
Yep.
parentheses, nonprofits or private?
I like
Yes.
that, that's
Yep,
good.
perfect.
Yep, I like
And then
that,
other.
that's a good idea,
And
yep.
then other, so
Mhm.
Yep.
you don't have to split the hair that.
Yep.
So community groups, parentheses, nonprofits or private.
groups.
Perfect. There you go. Cover everybody.
So I'm not putting the other in as option 3?
I think you could put.
I'd say
I think you
the
could put
2
other
and
because
then other.
everybody-
And
Yeah.
then, okay, so keep the other, and then question 4 remains the same. We're asking them to identify
Yeah,
others.
so
Yeah.
there'd be 3 bullets there, or 3
Okay.
radio boxes there.
I got it. Any other comments on question 3 or 4?
Nope.
I just think, what if, can you just, I'm just throwing this out there. If you answered above, what do you have in mind? This way they could just write in, whatever they pick, they could just write in what they want.
Yeah, so,
Just take out the quotes of other. If you answered above, comma,
no,
what,
but again, if you say town department, rec, you're saying you're leaning towards town things, then you have leased by nonprofit or private group, or other, and someone has something that isn't stated in those first 2, would be what the other is.
We gotta keep in mind how the data's gonna look and how we can analyze it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we
Okay.
get something that's gonna blend into all the questions, it's gonna be really hard to.
all right.
To then put it into data you can present. And that's the tough thing about any time you have a blank field.
Right.
We could have 150 different things, and how do you select that data? So that's why the bullet points are better for this type of thing.
I think that makes sense, because we don't want a whole.
Yeah. I don't know how
We
we
don't want
present
this
the
going
data.
in 10 different directions.
It's going to be very challenging to analyze it. All right, so last comments on question 3. Again, we'll have 3 options: town department use only, rec department, meetings, town spots and functions, etc. That's option 1. Option 2, community groups, parentheses, nonprofit or private. Option 3, other. And then question 4 asks to define other.
Perfect. That's great.
All right, moving on. Question 5, if you answered to tear it down from question 2, I guess, what is your primary reason? Option 1, the perceived cost to maintain and operate short-term utilities, short-term upgrades. Option 2, I assumed it would be torn down once it was vacated, which I think was a recommendation from the last meeting. Option 3, I feel long-term upkeep will burden the town's capital plan, in other words, long-term upgrades. Option 4, I feel the town has enough building space. Option 5, I feel the land can be better used once the building is gone. And our famous option other. Any comments on that?
I think that's pretty good.
Perfect.
Question 6 is to define other in question 5, if that's what they pick. So we have a write-in box there. And then Selectman West had recommended at the last meeting for a catch-all box. So the question is, for number 7, do you have any other comments? It's an open response. We can either keep that or get rid of it. It might be a good avenue for people to write in last comments.
Yeah. The only thing,
Analyzing it
again,
will be difficult.
How do you form that data into something you can present?
Yeah, so SurveyMonkey will list all the answers. It might be like a 40-page
I
document.
think when we put a report together, I think the survey results get attached to
As
the
an
report
appendix.
as an exhibit and handed in.
Then they'll have all the data. So we can't,
All the data.
all we're doing is finding a way to format and present all the data, so that's fine.
And is there a way, I bet there's a way, like if SurveyMonkey compiles it, you could throw it into Copilot or like, and they'll come out with the summarize. You could say,
Yeah,
create
charts
summary.
and Pie charts and.
I hope so.
That's what
They'll
we're
even
for.
take it will even take the words and create like a graph, like with the.
Like a word cloud or
yeah,
something?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, we'll see how the data comes out, and certainly if anyone, I'm not too skilled in SurveyMonkey, but anyone that is, if you want to help me analyze or put it in a format that's, let me know.
Or if it can be uploaded into Excel, we can do graphs and charts. And all
So
that stuff.
it's 7 questions. In my mind, that's probably too many. I wouldn't really want to go more than 7.
I think it's fine the way it is.
So can
Seven's
we-
perfect.
can we- I don't want to speak to you.
No, you're doing great.
Mr. Chairman, could you ask for a final motion to?
So based on the changes we've talked about tonight, is there a motion to accept these and post this as soon as possible? Tomorrow?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Let's move.
I will
One
take
thing
care
on
of
the
that.
survey, too, that-
We just voted on it. You can do it.
No, just, we need to get this to the Wilmington Apple and the town crier also.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that's
We'll work with John and Tommy. And get it. We want to get it on, just like we did the forum, on as many of the
Is there still a
sites.
patch?
There is a patch.
Wilmington
Yeah,
patch?
there
I
is.
think so.
So let's make sure
Yeah.
that we try and
Okay.
reach out to them also.
I'll talk to Tommy and John. I think John was watching earlier.
Perfect.
So, and we'll ask if he can help get it on every available site that Wilmington has contact on. That's great. Great, so that's another one off the list here. All right, so continuing conversation about the school. I think we've talked about this in every which way, shape, and form we can.
I move to table that
And,
agenda item.
and then, do we feel, we don't want to keep bumping out, looking at the scorecard or trying to score some things?
Hold on, there's a motion on the floor.
What do you got?
I second that
I
motion.
second, I mean,
I move to table
Oh,
that agenda
second.
item.
All in favor?
aye.
All right, so we beat that to death. All right. All right, so now, the next thing would be, do we want to try to continue and fill out some of the scorecard based on what we had? Or do we wait one more meeting and wait for the survey? I think we got
So moved,
all the
Mr.
data, but
Chairman.
you want to wait?
So moved, Mr.
Yep.
Chairman.
Second.
I think
Well,
we want to go
I think we
home.
have a lot to
meeting.
process tonight.
I have to
What
go.
happened
I-
here, and,
I'm fine with that.
I know.
I just,
I'm
again,
waiting.
when we go to fill it out, I want to be right and make
Yes.
the best decisions we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, when we go to vote, I want to, whether we vote all in favor, we vote separate, we're going to base it off all the information we have and making it in the right timelines. So I have a motion and a second to table both. I'll take a vote if people want to table it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we're unanimous, but no. He's one no.
Jimmy wants to get done now.
This is what, this is the beauty of a committee, right? I can vote
Yeah,
the way I feel.
you can.
It's okay. No, that's fine.
No, that's, again, this was a great opportunity for people to speak, and it went a lot longer than we probably expected. On the next meeting, I'm going to just say right now, we have to be filling out the scorecard and moving
Yes.
ahead.
Yep.
Yeah.
At that point, we'll talk about survey results, but we really need to start moving forward, because I don't know what other data we could actually produce that will help us make the decision. And again, I like the fact that we all don't agree, because that's going to show that we found every avenue to make the right decision for the public and what the presentation. And then once we do the scorecard, put our presentation together, we'll review it as a board and then present it. And, all we can do is put as much data as we can, and then hopefully we've done our due diligence in support of the community. All right. So the next one would be, the next meeting is June 18th.
Communications.
Communication, next meeting.
Oh, okay. I talked about
What would you like to talk about?
communications.
What would you like to talk about? We have a survey, we had a
I
forum.
yeah, so I was, was I the only one who didn't know that there was a petition? Or did we-
I didn't,
I-
I feel like I don't remember, I think
did.
she said,
Okay.
I
did
remembered
it.
it. I didn't remember it was
remember.
100, but I remember
Yeah.
that
I
she had
remember
a
she had
petition.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first
Okay.
night.
She did
Then
give
maybe
it
I
to
missed
us.
that in the first meeting,
Yeah.
but if you could make that available to us. and-
Yeah,
and
she gave me a copy, of it, so I'll scan it tomorrow and
And
send it
could you
out.
just be sure too that we have all communications that we've received from the public?
Yep.
and-
Everything I've received, I've been trying to forward off
Yeah.
to the group
Okay.
as I got it. That's why I'm going to ask Tricia to get me the Sons of Italy one. So we have that, we have the WCTV one.
Great.
I did receive, the only thing I didn't present was A gentleman sent me a couple emails. He thought we should be more transparent and make sure that the community got input. And I think we're doing that. And he wanted it recorded. We were, thankfully, WCTV helped tonight. In the future, we'll use, WCTV is not here, we'll use the owl like we did last time. And then we'll work with WCTV to get it posted on their site, so that all this stuff will be up there. And then going forward from building to building, we'll always use the owl, we'll always do the recording, we'll always post it, and we'll share our documents.
Who was asking about the transparency, and what were they specifically?
I don't know if I want to say their name.
Oh, okay,
You
I'm
can
sorry.
share it.
Well,
I can share it afterwards.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
I
know
don't
if they
care.
want me to share
Oh,
the name,
that's-
but
I was just
it was
curious, what do
very
they-
well written. It questioned, he did state that it appears we're following the open meeting laws, which we are.
Yeah.
And he asked about the minutes, and we're up to date on those. We got Survey's working on the next one, and then so we're one behind each time.
Yeah.
So that's normal, and it follows Mass General Law. He wanted more transparency on some of the data we're looking at, so that it's posted.
Yes.
So I'm going to work on
Yep.
that anyway.
Yep.
And so I'll get that up there. And I'll try to do that on a regular basis after the meeting, when I turn my minutes in. If we supplied some type of information, whether it's a picture or whether it's the survey,
Yep.
put it up there as well. So if someone wanted to go to one site and download it, they can. So they were all great input, and I definitely want to do that to try to follow the requests of people. So that when we're done, everybody knows
Yep.
we listened, we did what we could, and we try to make it the best decision based on the information.
I only asked because you mentioned letter, and I did have several emails, so I didn't know if there was
Yeah, he
one of
sent-
those emails I could look at to see, oh, this is the letter that
Yeah,
they asked about.
there were two emails the gentleman sent me. He sent me one, I
Okay.
responded, questioning, because from the chair, just
Oh,
questions about
got
the
it, got
process
it.
and stuff.
Totally got it.
And I don't have a problem sharing it with the committee.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I answered his questions, and then he thanked me for answering his questions, had a couple of questions, and again, it came down to, he feels the school department really does a good job sharing all of the slideshows and the presentations with their minutes, and we weren't doing that. So he felt that if the school department should do that, we should do our due diligence to do the same. I have no problem with that, and if he wants that suggestion, I'll make sure that we do it. Because, again, it's all public record, so by law, we're following the law, and anyone coming to the clerk's office, request a public record of everything
Yeah.
we have, and I would make a copy, hand it to them, and then give it to them.
Just
Well,
like
that-
the
yeah.
selectmen used to put together their communications packages with their agenda and make them available. They haven't done that.
I
Been more
know,
than a
I
while
always
now.
see the complaints
But
about
we
that.
should do that. too.
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing that.
Whatever's handed out at the meetings that we get should be made.
Yeah, and a lot of times, this stuff's coming together
Yep.
in between me doing my job, so
No, I
I'm getting it to you
understand.
as soon as I can.
Yep.
And then we talk about it, so probably, I don't think I'll get it posted before the meetings, and sometimes we'll probably want to review it before we post it, but again, everything's public record. Anyone that requests anything can absolutely have a copy of anything we have here, but I will post it all in a format that people can see it.
They're good comments.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask, again, I know you said it already, but when's the next meeting on the books?
So the next meeting is June 18th, and after that, I don't have anything booked in July, because we have to decide as a committee, are we meeting in July and are we meeting in August? Because it'll be easy to find an open night, because I bet you there won't be a lot going on in the town hall, but,
Vacation schedules.
vacation schedule with all of us. I don't have anything etched in stone yet, but, I'm always last minute, so,
I know I won't be here July 9th to the 12th, 8th to the 12th.
Okay, so not the 9th. We're going to still focus on Wednesdays? Do we want to just get a July date on the books for anyone that's available? Either the 16th,
I mean,
23rd, or 30th?
I'm
'Cause-
available after the 12th.
You're available after the 12th?
what if we did, I'll ask, the Wednesday nights seem to be open in this room, so what about, July 16th?
Yep.
I'm available.
Do that.
So I'll check tomorrow with the town manager's office. And if it wasn't the 16th and had to be the 23rd, does anyone have a problem with that?
The 23rd probably works better for me.
Everybody else?
I'm free.
I think so.
All right. So I'll try to get those two dates, and if for some reason someone can't make it, we still have a quorum.
I'm not around 23rd.
Okay, so you're not around. So I'll check both dates, then I'll send out an email looking for everybody's input of which date's best for each person of those two nights. And once I confirm that they're available, because there may only be one of the two available, they could both be available. And then from there, we still would have a quorum. If somebody wasn't going to be around and they wanted to share information based on what was going on, we can make sure that, you know, you send the emails to us, and we'll bring that information if there's something that somebody wants to read. But that's the problem in July and August, is trying to get everybody
Right.
to make the meeting. So hopefully in June, we're doing a lot of the scorecard, and so July is really wrapping up what we're doing. Yep. So everyone feel comfortable with that?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so I'll look into the next meeting dates and confirm that and send an email. And then next on the agenda that's not there would be take a motion to adjourn.
No, I have.
Oh, you have one thing? Go ahead.
I
You
do.
talked once.
I'm sorry.
You've talked at least 3 times today.
Topics for next meeting.
Do you have special things you want to talk
I
about?
do, yeah.
You want to send, maybe you can talk about it tonight and then send me an email and I'll put them in the agenda?
Yeah, just 2 things that I think that the committee's going to need, right? Can you formally poll the town departments and get any interest that they have and give it to us on paper? Because all I've heard is like, and maybe these guys want it or those guys.
I have
believe
sent
that's
out-
been done.
and I've sent out to department heads and multiple times since the committee started, and
You get crickets?
I get crickets.
Well,
So it's
good,
really the
that's
groups
too-
I've said.
Can
Natalie, at
can
the-
we just do it one more time and say, last chance to be included in our report? Do you
I
have
agree,
any
yeah.
interest
Right,
in
I
this
agree,
deal?
because there was some discussion about the rec department
I
and.
heard.
Rec
yeah,
department,
a lot of-
library.
Yeah,
The rec department and library
And the
made it clear, if the
library.
building existed, they could find a use.
they could find a use
If they
for it.
didn't have it, they both said they have places to do what they need to do. So it's not like they need it in addition to do what they need to do. It's a, hey, if I had it, I'd use it.
A nice
If I
to
didn't
have,
it,
not
I'd
need to
still do
have.
my programs. Is
Right.
exactly what was said to me by both groups.
Can you provide that to us, just,
Yeah.
if it's just 2 lines, just so
Oh.
we have a copy
Yep.
of it for the record?
Right, that's a good idea.
And the last thing that I think that we need, can we get an updated estimate on the demolition? Because I think we're working with 7 or 8-year-old numbers.
No, that demolition came from Consigli on what I went, when I was there. He
So
went up, he went back out.
2022, 2021?
The day, the week before I gave it to you guys,
Yeah.
he gave me the updated numbers.
Oh,
So
good.
that's fresh from 2025?
Yeah.
And isn't that part, so I didn't want to ask during the form, but isn't the demolition included, wasn't it included
It-
in
it's-
the construction cost?
In part of the OPM, it was
It
an
was-
option. It's part of the contingency.
It's not part of the scope of the project.
Okay.
So they talked about it, but it was kind of there. It could be there if they wanted to repurpose money within that budget to do that.
Okay.
So we wouldn't have to do, go to town meeting and get more money. This could be part of the, it could be used as part of the contingency money of the project. We're gonna probably run out, we may run out of time if we, depending on how long this takes to go, because this building's gonna be complete and operational by between, November and January, the town hall will be operating in that building. So at that point, Consigli will pack their bags and leave, and then it would become no longer part of the project, and we would have to do it as a capital improvement and go out to bid for demolition.
So do you have that estimate, the demolition estimate in writing somewhere?
Yeah, I do. I
Okay,
can share that.
can you share that with us too?
Yep.
And that should become part of
I think it was one of the handouts I gave you before.
Yeah.
I might have it.
Wasn't it 83,000? I thought it was 83,000. Am I
It was like
just-
83,000.
It's on the
and that included
scorecard.
abatement and-
Yeah, it's on the
I actually have it here
scorecard,
somewhere.
that's right.
Perfect. I probably have 72 copies here right now, but,
Don't worry, I have it right here.
82.8.
I'll get it.
82. Okay, that's it. Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you, WCTV. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, board.
Thank you, WCTV.